Over by the golf course.
Are we recording now?
Everything's up in my head.
Okay, great. Okay, so now I'm going to call this meeting of the Nantucket Historic District Commission to order. It's 4:32 on Tuesday, February 7th. Present, John McLaughlin, Diane Coombs, Abigail Camp, and myself, Ray Pohl. Absent today are Christine Glazer, Val Oliver, and Matthew Coote. Can I have a motion to approve tonight's agenda? Thank you. Diane, all those in favor of Diane's motion?
Aye.
Aye. Do we have any public comment? Oh, I should also say that this meeting is being recorded. Anyone that wants to use their own recording device should let us know in advance. Thank you. Do we have any public comment? Sorry. Hearing none, we'll move right along to the consent agenda. And I believe we can all sit on this consent agenda.
Right, I move to approve.
Okay. We have a motion on the table to approve tonight's consent agenda. All those in favor of Diane's motion?
Aye.
Aye. And you abstain, correct, John? Okay. So 3, 4, and 1 abstention, John McLaughlin. Under new business, we have 71 Goldfinch Drive, revised stoop, freeze, etc. And there's no one here to represent this. Oh, you are. Come on up. Could you state your name for the record?
Light Terrio.
I remember I said I was mulling in.
Yeah, I get the list.
I did all that stuff.
Okay.
Here you go, Johnny.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
There's one more. See?
Everybody ready? How you doing, John? You're okay?
Thank you.
Should I, John, can you hear now? Can you hear now?
Yeah.
You good? Okay. This was a failed inspection report. I will read the list of things that failed when being compared with what was approved. Do we have photographs of this, by the way? Of the
Yeah,
existing?
this back.
You have this one? Here.
Is that part of this inspection? Okay, here you go. Okay, so the foundation exposed is much larger than drawn on the plan. I'm guessing it's about 4 higher. Front stoop is taller, larger than drawn, and has more steps. That's in part because the foundation is higher. Frieze board on front facade seems much larger than drawn, and vent on front facade should be painted to match clapboard. So, would you like to comment?
Well, my major comment is that we haven't landscaped the property at all, and there's no topsoil there. The front was kind of dug out for a deal with a water issue with the water company, so there's quite a bit of more topsoil. Fill topsoil coming in, and mulch, and there are no plantings on it either. So to basically cover the concrete foundation.
That's concrete.
What's the foundation supposed to be?
Diane, if you look at the photograph, You have
Yeah,
a
I did.
photograph in this one package here?
It's 1, 2,
It's got 5 steps up to the stoop. You see that?
yeah, including,
Five, yeah, that's it.
1,
1,
2,
2, 3,
3,
4,
4, and
5,
then the,
including the stoop. If you look at the approved drawing, it's 3 steps up. So if you assume a step is 6 or 7 inches, that's anywhere from a foot to 1 foot 2 inches.
right, but is it increasing the height of the house?
We measured the house to the ridge from the, on the side of the house, and it has not.
Should be 29 and as close to 30 as you could get. Is it 30?
It's less than 30. It's 2 inches, or 2 inches, depending on where you consider the grade to be.
But you can't put any soil around the front of the house because you've got your steps on your stoop going right down to the ground. So
That's correct.
something is wrong one way or the other.
Right, so the one place where there can't be any imported fill or vegetation for that matter are on either side of the stoop where we're seeing all this foundation.
Well, our plan was to put,
Hang on 1 second. Diane, are you still,
It's hard to tell what the trees. You didn't bring your original drawings.
actually they're here. They wound up being in 2 packages. Do you have a document that has this on the front, Diane?
Yeah, this one, I just have these little
Oh,
drawings.
yeah, that's it.
It's
That's
just hard to tell exactly what the trees should be. It looked like the trees on the,
the south elevation.
on the south elevation, what's they got written? 5-4 cedar freeze board under a Brosco.
Oh, 5/4 by 5 is what it says, yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is. So, I don't know whether, and it looks like it has an extra little piece of trim in the drawings, and it's just a flat freeze board on the photograph, right?
Well, the trim that you're looking at is the gutter, which is there, but it's just up higher.
Okay. It still looked like there was 3 lines after you saw the gutter. What do you think?
Jeez, how do you see that? I can't see that.
Well, here's a simple way to do it. Like, basically, if you can see the front elevation, there's like a course of clapboard above the window head
Yeah.
casing,
Yeah.
between the head casing and the gutter,
Yeah,
which we don't have in this. We
Right.
have white instead.
Also, the perspective, you're looking up, and you're not, the elevation when you draw it is dead on, like that. So
Right.
it looks, now it looks larger, coming from the street up.
well, I think it looks larger too because we don't have that black line with the one little course of clapboard on top of the windows, which keep the freeze board and the windows separate. So, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So what else did they say was, Where is
Well, there's the vent, which.
That's an easy fix.
That's an easy remedy, that you can just paint that out. John, comments?
Yes, on the photo, to the right of the stairs, what is that configuration? Is your support foundation?
Yeah. Those are the. you
It
know,
looks
the
like
lines in
granite.
the foundation,
yeah,
that's you're looking at the form work.
Right, yeah.
Those are the lines of the form.
But it does look like
Yeah.
granite, doesn't it? Doesn't it look like,
yeah.
As I usually do, I ask a question. Number one, why was the work done without getting a permit first?
the permit there was a permit there. And if there's a problem with the foundation, maybe we should take it up with the foundation company that I hired on Nantucket who put the foundation in.
Right.
Okay, and I'm the homeowner, I'm just following the
Yeah, no, I understand
I'm just
that.
following what, I gave them the plans, and this is what they do, and
Yeah, but I get around a lot, and there's so many violations of this small stuff, you know? There's so much of it, it's gotta come to a halt, because we're wasting our time in here, you know, trying to straighten up all these messes that are out there. And the people elect us to do our job, and we try to do it, and, you know? I have another question here. This backs up to Valero's open field. Your house is 24, approximately 24 feet from your lot line on the front. And so you got 2 cars parked in there. What was the other, wait a minute. Yeah, we mentioned your application, mentioned your stainless steel, leaders. Are they boxed?
Yeah. They're boxed.
yeah.
He's talking about the rain leaders have the wooden boxes.
Oh, yeah.
Those are boxed.
Yeah, I just want them to answer me, you know? Yeah,
I know.
I can, you know, make an impression of why it would happen, you know? The steps being larger than they should be by application, that the contractor is responsible for that also, right? Well, the owner is actually responsible for the whole construction. So, he's a bit more, should be more attentive to the job and get paid, you know? Thank you.
Thanks, John. Anything else, Darren?
Yeah, your windows in your drawing have the top piece going across with the seam line and then the sides coming down. And, but in the house, they are,
Are they picture frame? What's that top? Are they picture frame? I can't tell.
Yeah.
No, they're framed in the normal way.
but
Picture-
in the
see, there's a
picture,
silver.
they have no,
What is it in the drawing? I
It's the
can't
same.
tell. It's the same?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's basically a 1x4 on 3 sides, and then you just see the sill on the bottom.
right, but I don't see that the top one goes across to the outside and then the sides come down from the top. It looks like it's all one piece, those are wood.
Oh. Are
See
you
what-
talking about the seam?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it makes it look different without the seam to me, but I just like be picky.
The windows also seem like a different size, just from the drawing, but
But I
Can't
think
tell.
that
These
painting
Abe
around
windows.
the windows, what makes it look.
Okay, well, I think that the most troubling part of this is the foundation that's exposed.
oh, could I
Yeah.
comment on that?
Oh, I'm sorry, I
Uh,
didn't call you.
Well, no, I was thinking, if that corner board coming all the way down bothers me, if you were to,
That's a rain leader.
oh, that's a, so that has to be there? I thought it was a
Well,
corner
it doesn't
board.
have to go all the way down, but you'd see something below it.
But is it
Like-
is it a gutter that's?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so forget that. But I was thinking if you parged that, it wouldn't take that much
Correct.
depth, and that would settle
Parts
the
the
problem there.
foundation. Mhm. Do you know what that means, by the way?
Not exactly.
Parging? Parging is essentially like a stucco coat, that when you do a poured foundation, whoever noted the seams and the formwork, basically you do a stucco coat over all that with sort of a sand mix in it, so that it looks more like an old foundation, like a rubble foundation that's been covered over with concrete. So that would get rid of all those seams and would also make it look less just like a poured concrete foundation. So I actually think that that's a really good
Think-
idea.
Do you think it should be a color, or do you think it should just be natural?
Well, the natural parge is sort of grays out.
Yeah.
It's very inoffensive.
Okay.
And of course, paint the vent.
Yeah.
And, short of taking that whole freeze board off the top and putting on a row of clapboard, there's not a heck of a lot you can do with that top, so.
Okay.
Could you throw another piece of trim across it? Would that help?
I don't know if you can just do that, though.
Yeah, at the bottom, to differentiate the frieze board from the,
So wouldn't you give a little shadow
yeah, it would, exactly.
Wouldn't
to
it,
to the frieze? I think that would be good. If you look on the second page, of the stuff we got, it says
no,
that,
I'm with you, Diane, if you can do that. I didn't know if you could just put one on there
You totally-
without it incorporating into the corner board? You don't,
It could just run across the face of the.
okay. So let's
the
make a, can we make a
typical
motion here?
window provides 2.5 historic cedar sills with 5 1/4 vertical casings and 5 1/4 head casings.
Correct.
So in their description of those window casings, they do have the 3 individual boards. And I'm just concerned whether what he's got here is real wood or something else.
Like the clapboard?
No, the white trim
Oh,
around
oh,
the
oh, oh, if
windows.
it's like the Aztec stuff or something?
Yeah,
Okay, that's close
I'm
enough.
trying to find that note that you just read, Diane.
it's right here. Second picture over to the right, at the right dormer, it says all that, I think.
How can you read that?
And here it is here, sorry, the left
Got it.
picture, the top window and the window to the right. Because I'm nearsighted
Okay,
and I can read that no problem.
Diane,
Wow, that's-
I want to clarify something here. It's calling for 5/4 by 5 head casing,
Yeah.
which is common, and 5/4 by 4 side casing.
Right,
So in both cases, the wood is the same thickness,
yeah,
so that line is just a drafting line. There's not a difference. In order to get
I
that
know
to
it's
pop
not,
out, it would have been a
but
different
I
thickness.
thought there would be a seam line, which is some fabric thing. It's just being picky, I guess.
Okay. How does do you have any additional comments, Sean?
One question, yeah, down the bottom, the colors, it says the roof is black,
Yeah.
but up above, where it says roof material, we don't know what it is, because you have the choice of asphalt, tree tab, or architectural, it's not checked off.
It is,
It's
Huh?
black and
it's
it looks
three
like
tab architectural.
three tab.
Yeah, I just want to
Okay.
man the details.
So, it sounds like ways that we can mitigate this would be to parge the foundation on that front roadside, paint out that vent, and run a little course of trim between your frieze board just above the windows so that we get a shadow line there rather than it all be just flat.
Okay.
Okay, now, I think that would, how does everybody feel about that as a course of action here?
I'm fine with that.
You okay with it?
I'll go with the chair.
Okay, thanks. And Diane?
Yeah, I think he sort of, stuck, it's done enough, and there you are.
I think this will really take care of the major issues on the sign-off, honestly. Okay, so can I have a motion?
A motion to approve what is up there, including a trim board above the windows, the bottom of the frieze board.
Correct.
Do we want to say a size? You'd know the size better than
Inch
I.
and 3/4 by 3/4.
Okay, 1 inch 3/4 by 3/4. Finish it up, and the vent to be painted the color of the clavets.
And the parge coat on the foundation.
And, yeah, and the parge coat on all the foundation or just in the front?
Everybody needs to be on the front. And then it's up to him to do it on the side. if he wants to.
Okay,
Okay, well,
Is the vent to be painted?
the vent is gonna be painted to match the clapboard as opposed to white. Yeah, Yes, John.
Yeah, I just want to make for the record that the fine is $275, so everything is paid up to date, if this is approved.
Well, he doesn't have a C of O yet.
I'm sorry?
He doesn't have a C of O yet.
Right, no, I'm just saying to make it for the minutes that the notification is.
Oh, okay. All right.
No problem.
All those in favor of Diane's motion?
Hi.
Hi,
Aye. There you go.
tell me, was it 1 3/4 trim
1 3/4 by 3/4.
by 3/4?
Yes.
You got it?
Okay, thanks. I don't want to give you my agenda. Next up, we have the 5 Old Farm Road. Now, John,
Yes.
because we're now in old business, could
Yep.
you,
The boards.
it gets rather confusing because we have the existing board, we're missing a lot of members, some people mulling in,
Yep.
da-da-da.
I have all your Mullen sheets. Kathy prepared them for you. So this was held for representation. So this is, no one's heard it yet. It hasn't been heard.
Oh, okay, that's easy.
Later.
Could you give me names for the record, please?
Sure, I'm Patty Corolla
I'm Joe Corolla.
and Sophie Metz.
Great, thank you.
So, yeah, I'm sure you guys have seen a few houses in there recently, but this is right as Hummock Pond hits Mount Vernon, sort of on the side of the cemetery there. And what these guys are proposing is, you guys can see, we're in the center here with the two opposing neighbors here. We're in here, right in the center. So we're asking for $15.98 on the ground. And the way that hill works is that the neighbor that's lower and the neighbor that's higher, it's like a 5-foot differential between the two tops of foundations.
You're going side to side now.
Yeah,
I
so
have a lot to say about going
front to back. So if you guys, so the elevation that you would see facing the street between those two adjoining houses, the proposed north elevation is the front
Okay.
that you guys would see there. And then working toward the back. So tried to keep it really simple and in keeping with all of the houses that are in that neighborhood. Just excited to hear what you guys say about it.
Okay, thanks. Would either of you like to speak about that?
No, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Sophie, we don't have a copy of that.
Oh, sorry, I just did it before the meeting.
Can I,
Yeah, we're the middle
can I
one.
circulate this? Because what, I went out to view, Abby went out to view. Did anybody else view this site?
Yeah, I did. It just looked like a very narrow site.
There's a lot of, yes. So there are several houses being built right now on that road, which is this Old Farm Road, okay? Is this the side road that goes down the hill right here?
No, it's like there's
No.
no.
No,
It's
there's a series of lots facing that side street that are next to
So
that.
tell me,
almost as wide as what you're seeing there.
is
Like
this
that
house
distance.
being built?
Yes, but I think they put the foundation up too high and you had them cut it down. They had it jacked up like.
Okay, one of them is pretty far along,
That's
which
it.
must be that
I have
one.
photos.
Okay.
Which
Yeah.
number are we talking
Okay,
about?
I'm sorry, I should show this to everybody. So for anyone who went out there, this is the house, it's like basically up, like framed out. There's an empty lot, this is the house that's under discussion right now, and this house is basically, oh, thank you.
Yeah, so this is the one on the corner. You guys are saying on the corner, the smaller of the two. Here.
This one?
Yes, that's that house.
Okay,
And then their lot is the void in the center.
okay,
And then there's the largest of the foundations that's immediately to the left of them is that. So this is their lot, directly in the center of those two.
okay. So interesting, because I actually thought it was this lot.
Yeah, so it's
Don't know, I looked at the right lot.
The middle there.
the middle.
Okay, so it's in between two houses that are actually being framed right now, so we were close. Is anyone prepared to start giving comments on this?
Well, I can, the thing that hits me is that you have building from lot line to lot line, front and to back and side to side. And up there, next to the park and everything, and going down the hill towards the cemetery, it just seems that the construction size is more conducive to in town more than out. There's very little greenery with a future pool and a future cabana, and everything else is nothing to give it any greenery in an area where we usually have a fair amount of greenery. It is only 26 feet, which I appreciate, and I don't have so much problem with the design. I would like to see in the proposed north, which is your front, right? So your two windows in the dormer over the three windows down below. One is not over the other, and I would like to see the windows up above either spread so that they're sort of up and down from the lower ones.
Okay, so space out those two windows?
Yeah,
Okay.
you'll see when you look at it, it's off like about 6 inches, and that's,
The center line of the triple and the center line of the double are supposed to be identical.
the center, it looks to me like the center line of the double is off just enough to make it crooked.
That may be a drafting error. I would hate looking at that, so.
Well, I don't want to
Yeah, so I'll
go out
fix
and
it. Yeah.
inspect it and say, nah.
Yeah.
You have the most eagle eyes, Diane.
Well, we're both engineers, so we like symmetry as well.
They would have been mad.
I think it's gonna be on center.
Wait, Diane, can I just speak to the first thing she said first, or do I wait till you guys are on the table?
Why don't we wait?
Okay.
Yeah.
You did mean the lot line comment.
Well, just the size of this house. This is the smallest house in this 1,500 square feet.
I don't know whether you can bring it in, because I don't know what the size of your master bedroom and master bath is. But I would like to see just a little greenery going down sides of the building, so it doesn't look like it was sort of crammed in there, because it's sort of a relaxed area, if you know what I mean. That's all for right now.
Thank you, Diane. Who wants to go next? John,
Hang on.
Okay.
you want me to go, want me to take Abby first?
Go ahead.
Well, I agree with Diane's comment. I don't know what you can do about that, because it is a small house, but
And when you say.
that
you
lot
agree
line,
with it- Okay.
the east-west, it's pinched in there, pinched on the other side. It'd be nice to have more greenery, as Diane said. I'm not sure what I want to say about the front of it, but something's bothering me about the front of the house. But the west, I would like to see more fenestration, especially on that gable coming forward on either side, the west and the south, that gable coming forward. I'd like to see some fenestration on that, and perhaps towards the back of the house.
Abby,
Give it a little
again, to
interest.
be clear, are you talking about
Yes.
this area right
Uh-huh,
here?
yeah.
Okay. Did you understand
And
that?
east too.
On the front, okay.
Yeah, then on the east.
And do you guys, because it's just staring into the neighbors, I mean, I don't think you're gonna be able to see this
It's actually
entire
very,
side elevation.
Very close to, what you're talking about. You
On the
will
east
see it,
side?
but
Yeah,
So you
this is
won't-
that big gate.
See, that, I was thinking more of the people in the house looking out, because they'd be looking out over the,
right, like the house up the hill just sort of looks directly into my client's home, so
Yeah.
if you look at the site, it's a little bit,
We say you're gonna stack of windows as you look at the
Yeah,
other-
like
to
there's
see where you don't have a window.
but okay,
Well,
on that, but more
Anyway,
windows.
in general, the fenestration on the west could be improved, I believe.
Okay.
In the front of the house, I'm trying to figure out what it is. There's something about that gable coming forward that's bothering me. I can't put my finger on it. Diane said maybe spread the windows above the hip porch. I'm wondering if there's something else you could do either side of the front door. You know.
Oh, you don't do it like side lights and a transom, or,
No,
a 4-light in the gable?
No, I'm talking about the size of the gable, maybe perhaps the size of the whole gable coming forward, and combined with that hip roof is making it seem just a little stuck on or something. I'm not sure what you can do to that.
Okay, are you wanting a shed roof?
I'm wondering about that.
Okay,
You know, I think it might look less pinched.
okay,
What's the height of the building? Is it?
it's 26 feet tall.
Okay.
To the main gable that you just
Yeah,
talked
so
about.
Maybe, I don't have any design ideas, but those are my comments.
Thank you. John's to you.
I take it these are retaining walls?
on the upper side, it will need to be a retaining wall. On the down, we're hoping to avoid it depending on what the neighbor does, but this, we're pretty sure based on their foundation, it would have to be a retaining wall.
The design of the house is nice, I appreciate the 26 foot instead of going that extra 4 for 30. And one little question on this, the G and have windows, your awnings, would they be changed to fixed or hoppers that tilt in from the top, not tipping out? When they come off the side of the wall like this, they're not appropriate,
So, sure, I think we could change the E's to be fixed and the D's to be hoppers.
The question is, is there a house to the left of this one?
Yeah, it's pinned on the
Okay,
side.
because that was block F, and the D's and the E's should be either fixed or, which one would you prefer?
I said the E would be really easy to fix, but the D's would be nice because it's a bathroom to be able to vent it a little bit. So hoppers,
The G's?
the D's.
these would be hoppers.
D's,
Yeah, so
no,
D's would be hopper.
they'd be tilt inwards.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Last time I was up there, we started the first house, I guess.
They're going.
There's at least two
I
going,
think
maybe
that
three.
No.
Yeah, there's 6 in total now.
6?
Yeah,
Thank you.
or that are fully happening.
Thanks, John.
Take a minute to show the reflection on the windows.
Say that again?
Reflection
Let
of
the
the
minutes
window?
reflect for changing the windows. Thank you.
okay. Gotcha.
She
Yeah,
got
yeah,
it.
yeah,
She
yeah.
got it.
I got it.
All right, well, yeah, I think they're gonna revise
Yeah.
something. So, I think it's an attractive house. This is a really, difficult site because of the amount of grade change. Side to side has been dealt with that retaining wall, whether that's, are you putting that in or is the neighbor? You are, I suppose.
Yeah, we don't have a choice.
Yeah, you don't have a choice unless you want to inherit all of his topsoil. But the big concern, so they've already filled all those properties along that road. They've taken, from what I can tell, all the stuff that was excavated for the foundations and just sort of dumped it. So my real issue is what's happening on the back?
So when we were talking about, like, when these guys bought this land and they were talking about a strategy, you can tell in the neighborhood, there's the strategy of the guy above them who just built out maximum ground cover and then and sort of it burned up all this earth. So yeah, because I want Diane to see it. Yeah. So there's sort of, Diane, to speak to the open space versus not open space, there was sort of one strategy these guys could have done, which is this. You know, you basically take the house, max out your ground cover, and then bring up earth behind it and kind of have like a retaining wall or let it fall away. Or the strategy that these guys really liked, which was to do a smaller house in the front. Again, we're talking about 1,500 square feet here. This is a really small house compared to what they're allowed to build here. And that you would have you would step down to not have to bring as much fill and have kind of like a courtyard in the center, and then use this back cabana to be a simple one-story structure that they would experience, but acts as a 1.5 as it retains the back of the lot. So the idea
That's
was
where you're
that,
gonna need retention is
right,
back
so
there.
our thought was, as opposed to having like huge retaining walls, that building would look kind of like a long shed, you know, on the front, but on the back it would retain, because Justin Quinn just bought the lot below, and he, you know, he's gonna pick his grade, like, we're gonna have to react to whatever he does there.
There are
Because-
lots below
Yeah,
this?
there's a lot
Could you
below.
point out exactly where they are? Because
So the
Wouldn't
development,
wanna
you know,
live
there's
below.
two more lots down here which sit, their mean grade
So
is
where
like
are those-
12 feet
where are the-
lower.
Yeah.
where's the
So
drawing
we
of the
can't-
grade?
That's what I'm,
So when we
concerned
say future cabana, it's like, well, I think that there's gonna have to be a structure there that would help bridge the difference between a lot that sits 12 feet lower and this road up here. But the way they parcel this development is really challenging.
but now here's the additional problem is certainly one neighbor and probably the other neighbor have their grade basically, you know, not quite as tall as, but almost as high going all the way back and then it just drops off. So if you're gonna terrace down, it's gonna mean that you're gonna be like basically cutting down into what's already filled and have retaining walls that you're looking at on both sides.
Right, and the whole,
Correct.
on this side, we think so. On the higher side, that sort of has to happen.
Yeah.
These guys aren't the friendliest. I don't know if it's gonna be a team effort necessarily, but the idea is, because this is the yard that they're gonna experience, the hope is that we could get away with, you know, smaller retaining walls and vegetate it.
Right.
And then this one here, you know, she is the one who would need it, but she has set her stuff lower. She has kind of gracefully stacked down going in both directions. So I think that side doesn't have to be quite as egregious. But the idea is
So
that,
basically, Sophie, the way you see it is, so we see some of the grade change right here. If you guys look at the east elevation, P.S., the road, if I'm not mistaken, is actually 18 inches to 2 feet higher
Right.
than the grade at the front of your house.
right,
Is
so
that
we're
safe to say?
trying, they're gonna do a mud sill and try to get
Okay.
this, yeah.
So there we are with that grade, you know, basically from the sidewalk down to where the houses are, it drops down. And then they're dropping down over the length of that east elevation by at least 2 feet, maybe more. And so then you're gonna come out to sort of the middle of the yard, and then are you dropping down again?
Yeah, like-
down to the
Right.
cabana?
Which is what this neighbor has done. She sort of did main house and then that secondary back little structure, you know, hers, I think it's like 4 feet lower. It would, the same for these guys.
The one with the green on it.
Yes. So that this proposed structure in the back, that kind of has to act,
We're talking about this building right here.
yes,
That's the one that's lower.
lower. So we would sort of try to do what the neighbor did, which is have that building sit a little bit lower to bridge the distance between the high lots and the low lots, so it's not just like a sheer wall.
Can you bring it down, you know?
So that's what we tried to do it in like 4 increments. So there's the main, even these guys, you know, within they're gonna, to the back deck, it sits lower and then lower again. And then, you know, just to try to make it as graceful.
Down at where their property ends,
Mhm.
where the cabana is, and on the plot plan here, it has an 11, they all have an 11 across there, but it's 55, 927, is that going to be a building lot
Yes,
directly behind?
yes, there's a
their
building lot
property?
directly behind
And
it.
it's, how much lower do you think it's gonna turn out to be?
My hope is that it only ends up being like 8 feet lower, but depending on what the design is there, because that lot also falls away, it could be as extreme as it could be 12 feet. But I think Justin he did the houses sort of at the end of that cul-de-sac as well, and he sort of gracefully married those two properties, so I have faith it's going to be nice, but it definitely needs to be like that building would help to bridge whatever happens there.
It's dramatic.
Okay.
It's gonna be like Sunset Hill,
Yeah.
you know, it's gonna be a big drop down.
Oh, yeah.
But the
Were
hope
you
would be
saying
make it
something?
less than
Did you have a comment? No.
I had one other thing, unless you're gonna bring it up,
Go ahead.
is the two window wells at the front of the house.
Mhm.
They're fairly good size from what I see. Are they going to have grills, or are they going to have not too much light? Because,
they were planned to be just grills, so you wouldn't. The hope was to not see them.
okay, and you're gonna put planting or something
Yeah.
in front.
No handrails or anything like that.
Can I make a suggestion, Sophie? And
Please.
it may have to do with code, but why don't you raise those windows up so they're not so deep down in the, you know.
It's because of the mud sill. So it was hitting, you know,
okay.
sort of dropped.
Thanks, Diane. Now, so I basically think that this is a well-designed house. I agree with your contention that this is smaller than the neighbors. P.S. The big house that went way back on the lot is also going setback to setback. You know, it's not like
I know,
they
it's
went
just
back
that
and
it's
narrowed up the
unfortunate
house.
that
They did
every
both.
lot there seems to go from sideline to sideline.
Yeah.
I don't know how they could expect you to get it 8,546 square feet in that property and not have the house, you know,
Right.
Yeah.
It's like a
so
zoning problem.
huge and tall.
Yeah.
So I think that you have a few things that are relatively minor that we, the board, would like you to investigate. So has everyone said their piece on this? If so,
Yeah, maybe if she does some revisions, just put in what you're proposing for a stone wall, so we have some idea of what it looks like, don't you think?
well, I think at some point you're gonna come in with a landscape
Yeah.
proposal.
Yeah,
for
You
sure.
know, probably when you come in with your cabana and
Right.
that stuff. So we'll see it then. But the fact is, the retainage that they need there is actually retainage down, not
Right.
retainage up. It's to hold back the land that's higher than that.
Right,
Yeah.
but it just
But we'll bring a photo.
The materials and all
It
that,
would
the
be-
usual stuff.
good to see what was they are proposing for walls,
Yeah.
depending on what was going to be. So I make a motion to hold for revision.
Yeah, thanks. All those in favor of Diane's motion to hold for some minor revisions?
I
Aye.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yep. I thought you forgot. Okay, next up, Tom McCann. I know him on this.
Hi, guys. Good night, John.
Are you here for Tom McCann?
I'm sitting in for Tom.
Oh, okay. All right.
he's out of
Because I
the
noticed
country.
that you were after this.
Yes, I am.
All right.
he doesn't look like
No, not at all. My name's Mark Lombardi, by the way.
Okay, so let me think. With memory, I brought my notes on this. John and Diane, right? No Abby? Or you?
Well, Abby's been,
Oh, you're mulling on this too. Okay. Basically, what Mr. McCann is asking for here, this is the house that he's had forever, the one that's heavily landscaped, and it's like a long ranch house. He came in earlier for an application for a pergola that was attached to the side.
Yeah, I thought we did this.
Somebody motioned for a viewing.
there was some confusion on, yes, and somebody needed to see it again. And
I think that was Matthew.
might have
I
been,
think
but
that's what the
it
minutes-
wasn't that big of a deal. I didn't think it
It's
was.
not, in my opinion. So what we have, pergola on the side of the existing building, and then over what is now just sort of an exposed front door,
Right, he's putting the porch.
he wants to have a little porch.
Right, I
And
think
that's it.
I thought we decided it would be good and gave the house some definition.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. How about Abby seems to feel the same way. John, how are you feeling about this?
As far as that, I think the only thing I would bring up is the fact that everybody else has to have a 7 minimum of gable roof, and you got a 6.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, so if you got room to put
You can
chandelier.
go a little bit. You guys wanted that separation from the ridge, but
But can I say something about that? John, the
It's on
existing,
the south elevation.
existing.
the existing house is a 6.
Yeah.
The roof on that existing house is a 6 and 12.
Is it? Okay.
These are those
Yeah, if you look at the
vernaculars.
sides,
Yeah.
it's very
So
shallow.
they're matching the existing.
Yeah,
Huh?
That's the way they made the trusses back then.
right. Okay, can I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Great, thank you. All those in favor of Diane's motion to approve? All right, thank you.
John, they may want to bring out the other plans with these two, maybe. I don't know. It was, again, this was a couple window changes on this next one, but the changes are made to the originals to speed things along. I don't know. Maybe you don't need them. We can try without them. But what it was were those a lot of double windows that they were ganged up, and we made them into singles. Perhaps we don't need it. Perhaps we don't.
There was notes about too many gang windows.
Right. That was and I changed them all. Maybe you don't need the originals. I did this on a simpler kind of form.
On my mullen on the last one, I inadvertently put January instead of February. If you cross that out, please.
Did you get the right year?
What year is it, all right. Yes, sir.
I have a question on the last one. One
Yes.
question.
Sure.
Are they gonna put in air conditioners eventually, you know?
I don't know that, John.
Thank you.
On Tom's building,
On Town's building.
I don't,
He doesn't like air
he
conditioning.
doesn't ever have,
That's why he moved out here, he said.
Oh, he said that at the meeting.
Yeah, he doesn't like it. This particular property, believe it or not, however it is in town, cannot really be seen. You can see that front elevation from the west side. Everything else is tucked between buildings. And
Provided we approve the building.
tucked between buildings,
You
that's,
can see, you know.
well, because the undulation of the graves site there, the Quaker Cemetery, they didn't have any bulldozers back then. It's a tough thing to see, but you do see a little bit of the back building, that pool
when did it
house.
get to be 34 feet tall?
Well, that's just that one elevation walking out the basement. It's 25 all the way
From
around.
the street,
Right,
this is all behind,
that's all behind. You can't see in back there.
I know. You have to have a shoehorn.
Oh, yeah. Plus I'm gonna landscape it.
Because of the cabana, right?
Correct. It's a courtyard type of a, again, I always design from the outside in. And that house is built a few times down the street as well.
This house?
Yes. Very similar
Because
to
there's another house like 3 doors down that has dormers on the front of it. Is that what you mean?
No, not that one, but there is one. This is very similar to some of Brooks' houses that he's done.
Okay. Anyway, so it looks to me, Mark, usually what we have is something to compare to.
Right.
So it looks like you've made window changes.
That's basically what it was.
And would you care to we should probably go through them so we fully understand.
That was okay.
Nothing, hang on.
Yep.
Nothing
on the
front
west.
elevation.
Yeah, nothing on the west.
On the east, you have one that says change shape.
There's a bathroom bid window that I changed the shape so that it had the proper, see the one to the right of the door on the deck?
On the east elevation?
Yes, this would be the east.
Yeah, okay. It used to be sort of a horizontally
Yeah,
formed
I changed those. I think it
floor
was
light window. You see
4/1 or something. I
that? Now
changed
it's a
it.
6/.
No, it's a 6/1. Changed the size of it.
Okay.
That was one of the suggestions. Then the other ones were simply I wiped out all the doubles, which I like it better, honestly. It works better with the floor plan, too.
That's why Diane suggested.
Yes, it was a good idea, Diane. Saving me money.
Okay, and that's on the south elevation.
Right. There was two straddling no, that's the north. Yeah, the two strip.
Color Quaker gray trim.
I might come back and change that.
Where would you change it to?
Do you like that? I don't
I
know.
like-
I never used Anderson, so I don't really know they
It's
made
the
the
Quaker
colors.
Cemetery.
There you
Quaker
go.
Gray.
All right.
Same thing.
Thank you, Abby. That's great. Okay.
On your proposed buildings in the back, the pool, the cabana, you're not, pool house, you're not thinking of it to be tall. I'd like to see some breaking down of the house as it goes towards the Quaker Cemetery.
It's quite a bit down lower, very lower, because we're dropping a whole floor now. Dropping almost 10 feet from foundation to foundation.
So we'll go down, because I'd like to
Yes.
see some.
There is a cross-section on the main plan that shows you
There
that.
is?
Yes, if you look at the,
When you say the main plan.
well, we don't have, would you have that little one you just had in your hand there? If you look in the front sheet, yeah, open that up, Ray. The first sheet, I think you see a little cross-section perhaps.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it kind of gives you the idea what's going on here with the walkout basement.
All right, this is very helpful.
Yeah,
Okay, John.
I think these guys are, yeah.
Right down there,
Right.
that's a section through the site. So this is the road,
Right.
and then this is over by the Quaker Cemetery. So we're looking at this now, but we're gonna look at that next.
Right. We kind of went through this last, you were last time? I don't think you
No,
were.
I'm
yeah.
all in, Dan.
Okay.
Okay. Would anyone else like to see this? This is the section. Just if you need confirmation that the little cabana building is gonna block the lower level of that as it goes back. There's a huge amount of grade change there.
34 to 14.
Want to see
Yeah.
this, Diane?
Yeah, it's big. I have the retaining wall on the other side of that building.
Okay, who's up? Abby, you ready?
We're not talking about landscaping right now.
No, just the house.
Just else. Let's see what's next.
No, I don't have an architectural.
Okay. Meaning that everything seems okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Diane?
I think the last time he was before us, I said what I needed to say. I think that he's moved windows from the mold to the single, which is what I wanted to have happen. And your front.
I played around with that front a little bit. It's very difficult to change that.
Right. The, you can't change it very well without changing everything.
And I want it to look really cottagey. I don't want it to look like a big building.
Right.
I want it to look small.
Right. And how tall are the buildings, do you know, sort of next to it? Are
Well,
they
the
yours?
one I just built was 28 and a half. That was a big one, you know? These ridge lines are lined right up.
But the ones to either side are pretty. they're
One
not
to the
very
left is
tall.
small. One
Yeah.
to the right is a large colonial. Yeah,
Yeah, it's full 2 stories.
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so 25 is a good height.
It looks
for
good
right.
with the streets, you know, all the houses are lined up nice, the ridges are the same, looks good.
Could you drop down to get
That's right,
to it?
correct.
So, and I think that'll work out well with that pool house blocking. Just don't let the pool house get too tall.
That's
Or
the
on the
plan.
house.
Well, that's what we're reviewing.
Going on there next.
Right.
Okay. John?
No comment.
Okay,
Okay, motion to approve.
there we go. Yes. All those in favor of Abby's motion to approve as submitted? Aye.
Can this go back to John Eden?
I think it should, right? That came out of our folder.
Yeah. Came out of it, all right.
Thank you.
Okay, so that was unanimous.
Mouse.
Now we are on to the pool house. Diane has already said this should better not
it's not. Was it
Right.
16 feet? How do you know what it
He's
is?
gonna come beam you.
So, actually, this was reviewed, before, right?
Yes.
Okay.
The change I needed to make was on the dormer. I brought the windows in off the edge. That was the only comment, was the, I believe it's the east side,
Yeah.
or west
but
side, excuse me. No, east side.
East
Right.
side
East.
says you moved windows
Moved windows
18 inches.
Makes my bed narrow, but that's all right.
John, you ready?
Yes, I just only one comment, in some way, you gotta put a,
What did I forget?
there's no floor plan.
It should be there.
Maybe there's a floor plan.
No way. There's no floor plans?
I'll get down to it anyway, somewhere, I got to have a front door.
I don't have a floor plan with these.
Oh, actually, John, last page.
Maybe we got
Those are
chipped
the
out of
floor
those.
plans are there.
Yeah, I've done
John's the only one that didn't
Yeah.
get one.
first floor, second floor.
You don't have it?
It was late.
Really?
Is this like a pool house? Looks like a second dwelling. Yeah.
Well, it's, we don't know what we're gonna do on the inside. It's, I wouldn't call it a second dwelling, but you can call it, because I'm having a bedroom up there. And, it's got an exercise room down below. It has a little bunk room, which is probably just gonna be for storage. I was just planning having one bedroom upstairs. That's basically what it was gonna be.
Where are you going to have the pool equipment?
Pool equipment's going underneath the porch of the other building,
Of the main building?
in the main building, yes.
I still think you have to have a door somewhere if you don't call a delivery door, front door.
I'm confused. That glider,
Well, John is talking about it, front door in the traditional sense of the front door.
Six panel door.
Right. Like what you would see on the front door on Main Street, for example.
okay, for a pool house, yeah.
Oh,
Well,
You might put something on the side? I can put a side door. Would that work, or no, you don't?
Does that work for you, John?
it would be, most, not most, should say most buildings have.
Oh, I have a brilliant idea for you.
Cabanas and pool houses.
Looky, why don't you just turn this window into a door?
Yeah, I can do that. I can do that.
On which elevation?
Okay, so it's the window on the side, which is.
Can we approve it, though, so I can get rolling, yeah? I got that.
Out the shower.
It's on the south elevation, the first floor window. It is over a basement window, so you'd have to sort of move that.
I'll can the basement window.
Okay, there we
Yeah,
go.
can that,
So that, I think, John's, so what we're suggesting is,
I have another
right there is
suggestion.
where he would put his door.
Is that, which one is it, west?
That's east. No, I'm sorry, that's south.
South elevation.
South elevation.
South elevation is towards Vestal Street.
Yes, yes, it is.
Okay, what's there might not be visible, so looking at the floor.
Yeah,
I would like to see on the
No,
east
no.
elevation, you think about those three small windows under the larger windows on the second floor, and I'm trying to find it on the first floor. plan.
Again, if you saw, looking over that cemetery, all you're gonna see is that dormer. If you
No,
look at it again.
well, I wasn't
yep.
thinking so much what
Yeah.
you were gonna see from over there, but what you were gonna see out the window. And what you had here, it looks like it's, they're in front of the sink.
Yeah, it's a bar, actually, yeah. I wasn't even gonna have a kitchen there.
Well, I'm sorry, never mind.
I'm just
Give
trying
us a front door on the south elevation.
okay.
What, I think,
Are you
John, are
keen on
you
that?
still,
you're fine, yeah, I think
you're
it's.
fine
yeah.
without the front door in
Yeah.
the south
Oh,
elevation?
thank you.
No, that's just fine.
Okay.
What's there is fine.
Okay,
I don't think it's visible.
Right, thank you.
so,
Motion to
Approve
approve
it,
it.
submitted then,
That's
huh?
what it sounded like, yes.
right.
All those in favor of Abby's motion to approve as submitted?
Aye.
Aye, that was unanimous.
All right, thank you. Landscaping.
That was two in so that wants to go down.
Abby.
Okay.
That, hold that for just a second till the approval comes.
Are these the Molly ones?
Yeah,
So this is the
you
pool.
got some
stuff.
bills, right?
I signed all mine.
Oh, okay, so they'll already know.
I can't-
Again, this was already reviewed,
It was in good shape, I think. Mrs. Oliver wanted to go look at it one more time.
okay?
I wanted to ask you about driveway materials. I saw that you had what,
I
Are there
redo,
other-
I redo a plan showing it all brick, because the town's requiring us to go 10 feet, and it gets kind of weird from the asphalt. And when you have a 24-foot long driveway, you only have, 10 to 14 feet of shell, and I redrew it. I was gonna brick the whole thing, and I was gonna come back and submit that, but I didn't wanna clog things up. Why, what are you thinking?
well, I just didn't know if
You just
shell
drift
drives
them.
were the
yeah.
material of choice.
The problem we're having is they drift all over the place, especially the shells. And you know what they look like on a red brick. And I was just gonna bag all loose aggregate on this one, because it's such a small space.
The little pebble.
Right.
Yeah, I would.
You prefer the smaller pebble than the shell. Got
I
it.
do.
They stay better too. Not as light.
Yeah, because I was thinking coming up off it in the wintertime with ice and stuff, it would be.
Right.
So are we suggesting changing this shell drive as labeled to pea gravel?
You can scratch that, because I'm probably gonna resubmit to do that all in brick. So, unless you wanna change it to brick and approve that, that'd save me a trip, but.
It would.
I just want to know what are your neighbors? I want.
Several of them are all brick.
Yeah.
And the rest are shell. The one I did next door, the two buildings we built there, have a green strip in the middle, and it's all shell. But it has a huge brick apron. It goes
Yeah.
in the property about 30 feet. So there's a lot of brick there on that street.
'Cause
Okay.
I know up further where it's dirt, and you take a right and you go up. Is it Vestal?
Right.
There are a lot of shells. There are some shell driveways.
If you go by Wynn Street again, you look, you'll see that most of those driveways are solid brick. Our landscape company did a few of them. Yeah.
Do you want to continue with your comments? Happy as
No,
long
I
as you're. No? Diane?
On your, depending on what you can see, do you think it's really necessary to have all these stepping stones going around, making it really,
It's,
really
it's,
easy? Are they
yeah.
going to be uneven ones, or are they going to be?
I'll tell you the reason why, because I'm having gravel there, because I have a water situation, and that is gonna be loaded with drain pipes. On each side of these buildings is gonna be gravel, because the water coming off the roofs, I have no gutters, and they're running all into drains.
Have you got French drains? around?
French drains, they're running, the distance of the buildings, and running out the back end.
This next house, Mark, where it says resident pool and all that jazz, it looks to me as if it's built right up.
They're 5.5 feet away from each other. I tell you.
Building to building, and these window wells that he's got looks like they're a foot off your property.
They're very close. They're very close. I have 7.5 feet, almost 8 feet on my side. I've narrowed the building up. It's a 50-foot lot, and the building's 32. Is that what it is? So you can see I'm playing with 16 feet, so I do have about 8 feet on each side.
If he coughs, it's gonna float. the wind, do you have any air conditioning stuff that you're considering for this house?
All going underneath the deck.
Underneath, everything's
I
underneath.
got a whole boardroom underneath that deck there.
So your water problem is on the,
Well, they're on both sides, but we're gonna run it out the back to the Quakers.
okay,
Okay, interestingly, Mark, to Diane's point, you've got the walkway here that I understand, because that's taking you essentially around to the back side of the house.
Right.
This one appears to be like just serving, are those air conditioning units there? Oh, that's the trash.
That's rubbish. And again, that'll be all gravel going down.
I see.
That hedge on the right-hand side of the property is existing. And underneath that hedge, I have two 4-inch drains going underneath it when I installed it, yes. Anticipating this lot that I owned at the time I built that, I put all the drainage in.
and then you have a grill
An outdoor grill, yes.
and a fireplace?
Fireplace. Yes,
Labeled as
Oh, yeah.
fireplace.
the gas fireplace down below. It goes with the wall.
And where is your pool fence?
The whole thing's a fence.
But it can't go all the way up to the,
I have a fence on that right-hand side, which I built before, that's existing, okay? On the other side, it's going to be a 4 to 6 foot fence, depending on the grade. That grade on the church side is much higher, and that's going to be retained. But you can't see any of that. You're never, ever, ever going to see inside there. You'll never know what's going on.
That is a lot of fence.
No, not really.
Places around, and how tall is it?
Depending on the grade, I'm not quite sure, but it's probably about 4 feet.
Needs to be 4.
Needs to be 4 feet, so it's
Yeah.
going to be at least 4 feet.
How is the fireplace incorporated into a wooden fence?
It's a gas fireplace, and it's not a wooden fence.
Hey,
That's masonry.
Did you see the little section, Abby?
Yeah, look
Yeah,
at this.
I did.
Okay.
It looks,
I mean, it's basically built into that wall.
Into that wall, yeah.
it looks more like, we're
A
in another
pagoda.
country here.
Or a really beautiful wedding cake.
I'm not sure that's the stuff, but again, you can't see in there, so I wasn't really focusing in on what everything looked like. I'm sure it'll come together as we.
So this fencing is stone? It's
Not stone.
Stucco?
It's going to be stucco. I might do it in just in cinder blocks and then parge it. I don't want it to look like a fence. I want it to be very Tuscan looking. You know, a lot of.
Yeah, that's
No, you're saying
I'd like
fence,
to
but you
see
mean
some
wall.
pictures of
Wall.
it.
Wall.
Wouldn't you?
I'm not quite there yet with this. So.
Wouldn't you like to see
Yeah,
what
do you
it's
want to
gonna
hold
look like?
this?
No, I'm trying to get the
stucco.
pool approved. But if you have problems with the way I'm treating the fencing and the retaining, you can hold.
Yeah,
But
my problem is that it's so hardscape. There's so many hard materials here, and I think my main concern is when you're looking because as you say, it's very tight in there. I think my concern is looking across the Quaker Cemetery and just wanting to soften the back of that pool house
Yeah.
with some
Okay.
vegetation.
you can trust me on this. This is not going to look hard. It is going to be so well landscaped and so green in there with potted plants. We bring these big pots from Campania, and it's going to look very vegetated in there. I didn't get into a lot of detail because again, I didn't think it was necessary when you can't see in there. So why get into all that now?
Well, because in the wintertime, it may be more visible.
I don't see how it can be. If you really go there and look across that field, it's impossible to see in there with that pool house.
Could you do this one more?
Yes.
Okay, so.
You can't see in there.
Maybe you, okay, it's just an interesting coincidence that the property right to the right of this house, i.e.
I did that one too.
He did all three of them,
I
didn't
did
you?
all 3 of those.
Okay, anyway, so that's all built, and you have a residence that's in approximately the same location. You've got a pool that's at approximately the same location, and a cabana that's at approximately the same location, all of which are built. So, I mean, maybe we take a viewing from across the Quaker Cemetery with that as sort of a model of what
Right.
you would see.
You'll never see anything.
You know what I mean?
I did when.
Oh, you did?
Well, yeah.
been there twice.
We know by
On
heart.
the other side.
From whatever Quaker Road, what is that road?
Nantucket Road.
No.
I mean the
Quaker
other,
Road.
you know.
Quaker-
Oh, way on the
Is
other
it
side,
Quaker Road?
yeah.
Yeah, on the other side of the cemetery.
What is that road called, John?
It's called Quaker
Is that
Road.
Quaker Road,
Is that
that's
Quaker
where
Road?
they were
Okay.
gonna put the bike path,
That's, yeah, they dug up all the skeletons, right.
right?
Right, so all I'm saying is, I think we all agree that there is a huge amount of architecture there, more than any of
Yeah,
us
it's-
would want, but zoning has allowed that. But, I mean, what we're discussing now is a pool, and I think that Mark has a point, which is from that distance and the fact that the, you know, the terrain is rolling, et cetera, that, and the pool house location is going to mask over a lot of this landscape stuff that we're talking about.
Well, then I want to make sure that when you're looking across the cemetery, that you're going to see this, the back.
You're
of
only
this
gonna see the
house.
dormer.
Okay, so,
Right.
Yeah, you're
But I
gonna
What
look
about
into
for
it.
Kathy Sherman's house?
It's so heavily landscaped over there. Well, the church is in front of that. I'm sorry I'm taking up everybody's time, but, sorry, folks. But it's, you gotta go see, you know, if we're gonna look at this again, but at least give me the pool and or excuse me, the house, the
Yeah.
pool and the,
you already got the house, you already got the guest house, but the pool is contingent on the pool fencing.
okay.
So now listen, I think you have to oblige us here for a second.
All right,
John,
I will.
let me ask you a question. The Quaker Cemetery is considered a publicly traveled way, is it not?
Yes.
No,
Okay, so the view of this would actually be from, you know,
Any
the
part of the cemetery.
Exactly, so, I think that we would motion for a viewing, go back there, wander around. I know there's a
Well-
huge kind of vegetated buffer in between
Yeah.
the cemetery and these properties. It's a cat.
It's a cat, it's
Yes,
a
I
cat.
see that now.
Is that a good way to proceed with this? Otherwise, we'll.
Yeah,
go-
let's
Well,
do
I
that.
kind of think we all know it, honestly. I think we all looked
But
across.
have you scrutinized the?
But folks, can I say
So
something?
hard.
It's
Yeah.
45 feet down at that end of the property.
All right.
There's a 30-foot building there. There's a 6-foot outdoor shower there. So now we're talking about, you know, we're dealing with 5 feet on each side to kind of get a view through there. Be kind of,
Well, we've given you everything except,
Hang on.
no, you're right.
Abby?
Yeah.
When you made your comment just a second ago, was the comment to say that you viewed it and you consider that this is all gonna be visible, or you viewed it and you're considering that it's not?
I view it just about every day of my life. I look over the cemetery and look back at this development. So, I mean, I don't have to go see it again. I
Right.
just am saying that I would like to see it, some vegetation behind
Good,
the
you got it.
pool house.
We'll do it. I'll landscape it.
So,
and you're out
John.
there building it, if you see that it's becoming very noticeable, then come back.
Will do.
Sean,
I don't want to go back. My comment is this. You say there's an outdoor shower back here.
Yes.
The outdoor shower is right here, it says. Outdoor showers here.
There's one there and there's one there.
There's one here,
Over there. Right there.
here.
Yep.
Okay.
You got one down by the pool, one by the beach.
Okay, and the other is access. You're
Yep.
missing a gate. Okay? This is the pool. You can get from the pool to the street without any gate. Because if you come up here,
Yep.
down here.
I'm gonna need a gate there. And
Down here.
I'll put it right there. I'll put that pool right there. Yeah.
Somewhere needs
I'll
a
put,
gate.
I'll put a
Right
gate.
next to where it says,
Okay.
bluestone decking, to the right of the word decking. Yeah, I can put a gate either at the bottom of this or the top of that.
Gotcha.
bottom of the steps.
Bottom of the steps. Got it.
Put it at the bottom of the steps.
Sounds
Does
good.
everyone
Keep
have
the
that on their
Quakers out.
plans? And now, are we gonna approve this with conditions? Is that where this is headed?
Sure.
Okay. Now, so you would like to impose a condition of adding
Vegetation in the
vegetation
back of the
to
pool
Just
house.
point on your paper where you're putting the gate in.
See the little L-shaped stair, Diane? The exterior stair?
Yes,
It says bluestone decking, and just below that, there's an L-shaped stair. Just
Okay.
put the gate at the bottom of the L-shaped stair.
okay.
And then Abby wants to enhance the vegetation at the,
Put a
what's the
huge-
orientation here? What's the top of the sheet? What direction is that?
This direction here is east.
East. So she wants to enhance the vegetation on the east side of the pool house.
Will do.
Yes.
Okay?
I'll even talk to the board at the, because they allowed us to put trees out there before too.
Oh,
It would be nice to do all of those houses.
When the- I'll plant trees in the cemetery if they allow me to. They did before.
That would be great.
Okay.
Okay, can I hear a motion with those conditions?
Perfect. Thank you, guys.
Well, let's be
Wow. Thank you,
with
thank
the
you. We'll see you
addition of
later.
a gate at the bottom of the stairway down to the pool, and with enhanced tall vegetation on the east side of the pool house.
Thank you.
Thanks. All those in favor of Abby's motion?
Aye.
Aye. And here's my thing for that.
You're so good. You're collaborating. No, you're collating.
I'm totally easing the burden. Hello, folks.
Okay, hurry up.
Good.
Oh, let's expose that.
We've been through this before, but if you could just once again give us your names for
Sure. Yeah. I'm Nick Winton.
Madeline Saker.
Leslie Beal.
Thank you. And Mark Poor, the illustrious. Okay.
So, may I introduce the
Yes,
project?
sure.
Okay, reintroduce, because we have been here before, and today,
I'm going to interrupt.
yeah,
Just for one reason. I try not to do that, but I want to remind all the board members that we are really looking at 4 buildings here. Right? And I realized the last time that this was up for review that to sort of like individually review them wasn't really getting, so I think it will sort of review and comment on, the general plan. Okay.
okay.
We'll take a little bit of a break from our normal protocol, but, okay, so having said
Sounds
that.
fine. Okay, yeah, thank you for saying that, John. I'm Nick Winton, I'm the architect. Leslie, to my left, is the owner, and Mazen is an associate in my office. We're here now for the 4th time, and we made several significant changes to the project since the last time, but in the course of the history of the project, we've made many, many changes as well. For instance, we made changes to the windows and doors, John, that you were very vocal about, and we took that to heart. And we made changes to our proportion of our windows. We added fenestration, as you had asked, which I thought was very thoughtful. And we changed the proportion of our divided lights. You had a comment about the door, which we changed the front door to make addressed by adding a wooden storm panel, if you recall from our last presentation.
Where is it on the drawing? I couldn't find it.
It's actually in the rendering. We didn't show it in the drawing because it's a storm panel, so we're showing it in the open position. This is the closed position.
Where is that in here?
That's-
Is it on the east elevation?
It is on the north elevation of the main house. And actually, we reviewed this last time, and I think we had very favorable comment on it.
Let's find that first.
Okay. Right, Matt, that's
Is
the,
this here?
Yes, that is the.
that's correct. That is correct.
The point is, it's double door.
That's right.
That doesn't show, most homes and buildings have single doors.
Right.
That's what I was looking forward to see as a single door there.
Well,
And not double, you got enough, sliding doors, you can get in any room you want.
No.
I'm trying to suggest that, because I think all of this is visible from the travel way, because you've got town road all the way around it.
So let's hold that thought, okay, and we'll let him finish up. And,
okay.
we'll-
All right. Diane, you had questions about how the sun would fall on some of our windows at the last
Right.
meeting,
West,
and
on your
we
west side.
resolved that by articulating the fact that they're in shadow most of the time, and that we would be happy to add a non-reflective finish to the glazing. There was a question about the proportion of our chimney. We changed that as well, and there was agreement that if we parched the chimney, we could maintain its simple form and not corbel it,
Right.
which we did, which looks great, by the way. We're happy with. And Christine isn't here, but so Ray, you had made, I think, in a way, the most forceful comment about the proportion and ridge line of our garage and our pool house, and that's where we made a dramatic change since the last time. We have lowered, first of all, we rotated the line of our ridge, changed that direction, and then we lowered the massing of our pool house so that the collection of the ensemble of buildings is quite different as a result. Namely, that when you observe the house from the public way, it has a more of an ascending hierarchy, meaning that the lower volumes are in the foreground and the higher volumes in the background, which you can see here, but also in the model, which I'm happy to pass around. So the changes from the last time are in these two volumes.
We also separated the garage and the pool house a bit more than last time.
Right,
So
yeah.
I think
that was one of the.
one of the things I think that stood out when it first came was it really didn't look like a group of Nantucket houses. It was much too severe
Severe, right? That was
to
the term.
be, and I think your new one, that one,
Let's pass that.
makes it look more like the way it was in the old days, the way that they were grouped together
Right.
and their shapes.
Uh-huh.
This
We would agree with that.
is a better shaped compound than before, and the head of the planes is really not a place to set up a whole different type of architecturally sited houses, I think. So I think this has got a much better working basis.
The ridge height, now we have three different ridge heights, 25, 22, and 17, so there's a variety.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's important because one of the comments from the previous meeting was about that we had much more uniform ridge heights before, and now we have, as Madison said, these three, kind of a much greater variety in ridge height, which we think adds a little bit more lively character to the ensemble. And when we see it in the context of, Mark, I don't know, sorry to make you do that.
This one?
Yeah, in the context of the neighboring house, for instance, which we thought, this is a house that had been moved from the beach, which we feel is very frenetic and kind of busy. And so we're trying to keep things calm and quiet and simple, but at the same time have that variety of ridge height and changes in elevation. And you can see that most notably here in this middle picture,
Yes.
right there, how the lower elevation here, you can catch the volumes of the buildings behind. You can see it here in the side elevation. They step down, 1, 2, 3. And then you, sorry, Mark.
The public view.
And the other rendering, sorry. Sure. And you really notice it here at the entry where we widened that entry to make it a little bit more welcoming, lowered this volume so it's much more sort of a conventional roof height. I mean, it's now 17 feet. It's really one single story. And then this also demonstrates the difference between the glazed door and the storm door.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I think the storm door is good. We try and not have an area where you can look through the house and it goes on. So that's a good thing to add.
Thank you.
Dynamic, the windows being too small, we adjusted that.
Yes.
At the entry.
Yeah. There was comment about the windows, and I think the word you used was chiclets.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
It's an architectural.
It's a very excellent term. I got understood right away what you were saying. And so we have adjusted those proportions, made them obviously more Nantucket-like, more vertical in their proportion. And
They were implemented on all the buildings that got
Yeah.
affected with that proportion.
And then, John, you had mentioned also your comment about awning types versus hoppers. We had shown, and actually, I'm going to apologize because our drawings say awning in the schedule, but they're not. Actually, they're hopper types. So all the
That only applies on the
upper windows.
gas house.
So where we have fixed sashes, meaning not double hungs, but in-swing sashes, those are hopper with the screens on the exterior, which would be true for the doors too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you all have that.
Yeah.
Okay. So is that it?
That is it.
So I have I have a suggestion, again, breaking with normal protocol, just a little bit, because of the nature of this project. I would like to have comments sort of like on the overall compound, that. Try and make that brief, and then I think we should just go through and, sort of scrutinize. The way we're supposed to do is we're supposed to review the main house, the guest house, the pool cabana, the garage, which we will do. So, does anyone have any sort of general comments about the layout, the changes that have been made?
Well, I'm relatively new to it since I've been away, but I was on this initially. So, I mean, globally speaking, it's quite an interesting concept for Nantucket, and it's so sensitively done and so well proportioned that I agree with you. I think picking it apart on details is just a waste of time because it's a whole concept here, and I'm buying into it. So I appreciate your design.
That's a good general comment. Thank you. Diane?
I agree with it. I think that the rearrangement of the different building structures have improved considerably to make it more of a working compound and not some strange new type of architecture. I think it will work out very well.
Thank you.
Sean, any sort of general comments? Okay. I really appreciate all the changes. The only thing that strikes me is the garage and its height. But I think we'll get to that after we review the other buildings. So with that, I think that now I would like to, basically, if you've got any very specific comments just about the main house, which is the drawings that we have in front of us right at the moment. And John, I want to tell you something about the front door, okay? Where's the model? There it is. Just so you know, the front door that you're looking at in the various drawings is in there. So I think it's going to be really difficult to, if you're out here somewhere, to actually see into that door. So I
The
appreciate.
front one,
Where is it?
the front house, no,
It's right.
no, where it is.
Oh, you mean if you're here
Right,
looking
you
through?
can make
Yeah.
straight through.
Yeah.
But and the interesting thing about that, and I think we've noted this on the elevations, may not be very clear, but as you know, in Nantucket, there's this really thick understory here that effectively blocks here you can see, so from the public way, it's almost impossible actually to see. You really can't see the door because one, it's as Ray was saying, it's back here. It's pretty far back. This is really, we think of the front door as an entry to the property, even though it's not a door, it's just a passage. And then that directs you to this door and it's storm doors.
It seems like a moot point in the size of everything that's there. But what bothers me is the fact that the fellow that down the road down to the stop, he looks into that so-called blowhole, And he sees that door, and he says, I couldn't have one now. Now, what am I gonna tell him? No, I try, it's a minor item,
You
but,
got-
you know,
you-
for all
I
you're
feel
doing,
come up with
I
something.
think you change the door with the,
So I just brought that up
yeah,
because.
thank you.
Now, so John, do you, they had just made a lot of mention about the windows that are listed as awnings, but they're actually hoppers, so they go in. You said those were on the second floor, right?
Of the pool, of the guest house.
Yeah.
Oh, the
Everything
gas-
else is double hung, yeah.
Oh, so those are.
Nothing
so
on the
nothing
main
on
house.
the main house.
Yeah.
Okay, so John, there are no,
They're all double hung.
yeah, okay.
So do you have any additional comments on the main house?
Yeah, just, may I, just since we have John, who's the window expert here.
Yeah.
There was, so the front door, our response to the front door, I know that you love the six-panel door, and I don't disagree with you. But we'll say, though, the guidelines do,
I don't want to necessarily speak for John, but what I heard him say a little while ago was not so much six panel, because it is a wood door.
yeah.
He was saying that it's two doors as opposed to one.
Okay.
I think, John, was that, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but
You were objecting, it's two wood doors, you were objecting to the fact that it's two rather than one door, correct?
Close it and just put one in.
Well, could I say something about that? I think what my initial statement about this being a different kind of house, like I'm accepting this chimney because it's sort of a minimalist approach to Nantucket architecture. So I'm okay with a chimney that doesn't horrible, and I'm okay with a front door that isn't a six panel in this case, because I think we have to take each application.
okay, I actually don't think John is asking necessarily for a six panel door. He's asking for a
For one.
single door.
Right, so,
Can we
well,
make
that,
it just one big door?
Yeah, I think
I
we
mean,
could,
it's
we could
really
do it.
like a
Well, aesthetically, it
barn
looks
door,
like
sort of.
Yeah.
one big door because
Yeah,
it's
no, I get it.
simple
Yeah,
and it's cute.
but-
It's a
Yeah.
vertical board.
It's the vertical boards.
Minor, but it,
Right.
No, I think you're right.
So, John, do you have any other comments on the main house?
one other, on the chimney, you have a square here and a rectangle on the outside. Is that for wood storage?
Yes.
or-
Yeah, one's a hearth and one is a firebox and wood storage.
Are there any comments from the architect?
I think that we've addressed all the concerns that the commission had at our last meeting, and even went beyond that by reducing the height of the pool house in this instance here, and rotating the ridge on the garage, which you'll get to in the next sequence, really helped drive this into a different place than it was the last time we met. The portions of the windows, everything you asked for has really been directed to a successful completion and hopefully an approval tonight for this project.
Thank you. Diane?
I have no objection to anything in the building except, which may be your CAD system, or it was just too many, but I will leave it in your hands to correct, is you still have square windows in some of the windows, particularly up the second floor ones.
what page one through?
I'm a, see the difference between this one?
Those are the previous.
And this one?
This was the
Yeah,
previous
it's pretty-
edition.
okay,
Right.
This is
yeah.
what we're looking at
This
now.
is the window
Yeah.
I want them to use.
That's
That's
correct.
the one-
that's
This
the
is
one
the
we're
previous
proposing.
January 30 submission.
Yeah, I
This
got
is
it.
the February 7th.
More vertical.
So
I
we've
just
we've
didn't wanna
changed
go
all of those
through
windows into private
everything.
glazing per your
I
request.
think it's an interesting house. I think people driving by are not going to be interested where the front door is. I think that's going to be, unless they're there to deliver a hot pizza, they don't care. And the guests will be told where the front door is, and they'll know. I don't think that's a feature that has to be picked up. I don't mind, the chimney is going to be, we've been discussing parging, which is just a soft gray, or
Right.
a soft
Soft white or
camel
gray,
or
yeah.
whatever color is fine. I appreciate the different heights in the in the buildings themselves coming down, and we'll discuss individually the garage and stuff when it comes up, but other than that, I think it's an interesting project, and you are going to submit a hardscaping.
Correct, yes.
That will come in with the pool.
You're 10 feet from the ocean. What do you need a pool for?
Well, we're,
You may not.
Yeah, right.
But anyway, I think that you have shown a great deal of understanding of what we're trying to get across from the beginning, and I don't think you've lost the design of the houses. It's just come in a little bit the way we like to look.
Great. Any additional comments? If there aren't, I would love to have a motion.
Or do you want to, we don't have a motion to approve?
I think so.
Good changes?
Oh,
Well, so here's the story, John. Seeing this, did you know that this is John's 50th year on this board? So he's what we call the kahuna. So, John, if that became a single wide door, the wooden door, would you be okay with that? As opposed to two doors? Single door. Okay. So I would like to have a motion to approve this with the front door being a single vertical board door. Can someone make that motion for me?
So moved.
okay, so vertical, not like a French door, not like a large.
No, it's,
Not
they just
just
have
one
a big,
panel.
you know,
One big
it's
based
it's
on,
just like that. Instead of it being a leaf door.
It's recessed back
just-
in, so.
Yeah, it's just one big door that they can open up.
actually modeled after one of
Is
the
there gonna be
oldest,
someone to open that huge door for everyone?
well, historic panels.
That's
so-
me, I'm gonna be the troll.
What
The house
is-
troll.
What was the original material of the chimney? Was it small, thin bricks? Like
The
lawn
first
bricks?
time we showed it to you?
Yeah, I
don't know.
remember,
We-
like,
always
we-
part
a
of
month and a
always
half.
part.
It was always part,
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay, I thought I saw pictures of really long, thin
We have
bricks.
laid the brick and
We
hard,
had a couple
but
options.
Okay.
hard was the original intent.
Who's gonna give me a motion?
I did motion.
Yeah,
Oh, you did?
motion to approve.
Okay, with a single,
With a single,
wood door.
single vertical board door.
Correct, for the entry. All those in favor of Diane's motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, one down.
May I point of, do you want us just to change the window and door schedule to show the front door as a single panel as opposed to doing a whole drawing revision? Because we need to get the awnings off for the hopper units anyway. That would be the easiest way to swap that out
Yeah.
and deal with the approval set.
As long as our hypercritical staff consents to it.
That's why I wanted to bring it up at the meeting.
Okay, great. Now, you know what, can we take, I would rather not discuss the garage just yet. I would rather save that for last. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Everyone?
Motion to take number 8.
Thank you, John. So we're gonna skip 7 for now and go to 8. All those in favor of John's motion?
Aye.
Aye, thanks. So we're gonna go to the guest house next.
You go, John. Oh, we didn't find it.
Are we doing this at all?
Garage?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
This is actually our guest house.
We'll come back.
The garage.
Thank you. That's garage? Okay. Thanks. Okay. You really thirsty? No food or drink is allowed in this room, do you?
That's
You
cool.
you have to wait until break.
Yeah.
Okay, folks, we're reviewing the garage, not the garage, I'm sorry.
Guest house?
Guest
Guest
house.
house.
Yeah. Looks like you made a lot of fenestration changes.
Yeah, so overall, the guest house is one of the shorter volumes on the site. It's a two-story structure. It's a really simple form, like much of the other forms, simple gable. Because of its position on the site and its relationship to the end of the pool, it's a little bit, I would say, detached from the rest of the composition. Abby, you hadn't seen the model before, so this is the guest
Okay,
house
thank
here,
you.
the lone form there. So it is a kind of almost a slightly independent from the rest of this, really focusing on the pool. And it's a two-story structure with, correct? And so, yeah, right there. And John, you're looking at that's the pool elevation. So we have the largest set of doors there facing the pool so that floor can open up and become either used as a living space or social space, part of the pool. Could be a bedroom. It has a kind of multifunctional use to it. And other than that, it's the same language, windows and doors wise, as the main house. Same articulation of the doors and windows in terms of their trim and the shingle detail at the corners, which is just a lap shingle, not a corner board. So it really, it's really an extension in terms of style and form of the rest of the composition, but it is off to the side a little bit. It's a little quieter in that regard. And the height is 22 feet tall. Even though it's cast apart from the other buildings, it's the least visible of all the buildings because it's tucked into the understory around.
Yeah.
And it's in a part that's really hard to see from the road. You can see, catch a little back corner of it here, this view. Yeah, but other than that, it's not. It's not
22 is a good height.
22 is, yeah, pretty low.
You have a winter schedule?
Yes, we do.
2.1. Sheet 2.1.
Sorry?
Sheet 2.1.
Two?
There, up there.
This one cares that.
That's up there. That is another garage.
So don't mind the typo though.
Yeah, we did have a typo on the hopper versus awning.
Yeah, could you just remind?
So, John, we're not using any awning windows. Even though that says that's a typo,
Right here.
Yeah.
we're only proposing to use hoppers that's actually only on this volume.
The screen is on the outside. That's
Well, I know how you feel about it.
We'll include that as part of the
Maybe I've been here too long.
No, you convinced us at the last hearing that was important.
well,
So-
the historical process they have the screen on the outside versus something else. So that's the only option.
All the plans show them, right? Is it on the application?
Do you mean the name, the fact
windows,
that
the
the fact that they're hoppers? You know, John, as part of the motion, we'll just add that in, okay? Anything,
Convincing, yeah.
anything else? You're gonna make the motion. So, anything else to add? Okay,
Thank you.
Diane,
No front door.
good? You're good.
I love it.
Okay, so it sounds like, can we have a motion? And with John's stipulation that the windows currently called out as awnings are actually hopper,
Yes.
okay?
Can we say that, yeah, all awnings will be hoppers?
Correct. Okay? All those in favor of Diane's motion? Aye. Aye. Henry, are you in?
Huh?
Hold on, I'm just seeing if John's in on your motion.
Yes.
You are. Okay, so that was unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, next, pool house, please. I want to save the garage for last.
All right, so on the pool house, smallest structure within the ensemble, it's a 17-foot ridge height, roughly 20 feet wide and 30-ish feet long, 30 by 20. So among all the buildings, I would say this is the simplest. Now, I mean, it was taller before. We lowered the ridge and made it a kind of a 1.5-story structure. And it too, because it's a pool house and it has close proximity to the pool, has a window and door configuration that supports that use. But again, it's a similar proportion of both divided lights and ganged windows, ganged doors to get us the openings that we're indicating on the elevation that faces the pool. Same
On the
details.
elevation, you have a window, reading the whole site as you approach.
Yeah, so on the elevation, John, that faces the entry, that's the north elevation of this. We added this window here,
I think that was one.
part of the composition of what you see when you walk between the two buildings. So we that's this window right there. And I've got my glasses, so I'm with you. And it also, the building sits at a lower elevation, or at least a perceived lower elevation than the other buildings, because there's no deck or terrace around it, in the way that there is a simple wood deck around the main house.
Well, that does not exist anyway, but we should get it.
Gotta be consistent.
Yeah, right.
Thanks.
Okay.
Off the windows. Fine.
Actually, there aren't any anymore.
Only double hungs on this.
There's only double homes. Look at the bottom row. If you're on A 1.1, the
Yeah.
top row was what they came in previously. The bottom row, which is like clearly just a single-story
They
building.
highlighted.
That's the old one.
That's
Hold on.
Oh, yeah, that was.
This is the
that
new
was
current.
previous.
This is the current, right?
There's no general note.
Yeah.
Gonna change them from poppers to rabbit windows. That's it. That's my comment.
Okay. Noted, John. Diane. Good? Abby. Here we go. Can I have a motion?
Motion to approve
As submitted.
as submitted.
Right. All those in favor of Diane's motion?
Aye.
Aye. That was unanimous again.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thanks.
Okay, now we've got our garage.
So, the garage, while you're opening the page to the garage, this is the garage in the composition, this piece. Abby, I think this, so just so you, okay, so it's one of the first buildings you encounter when you enter the property, obviously, because it's a garage. In the middle, so it's a single-car garage with a second story over it, and it's a unique proportion. It's probably, in my opinion, the most kind of elegant proportion among all the buildings, because it has a nice verticality with the focus at the garage door, and the composition is meant to enhance your experience of the entry. So you enter between the garage and the pool house. Programmatically, obviously, so it's a one-bay, single-car garage in the lower level. That's why the building is rather narrow, and so it's about a, Nancy, remember what the dimension is? Footprint of the garage?
Yes, it's 15 by.
15 15 by 22.
Didn't change.
Yeah. And the biggest change, obviously, from the last presentation is the notation of the ridge. So we had the ridge in the opposite direction, the perpendicular direction, I should say, and which gave it a kind of a unique, though I would say from an HDC standpoint, an undesirable proportion. So we reoriented the ridge in this direction. So it's a more conventional, but pretty elegant in a way. It gave it a kind of linear feel to it.
The gable end used to be the longer edge. of the
Yeah.
garage.
So we had the gable on the long side, which was a little unconventional. But based on the comments from last week, or not last week, but the last presentation, we switched it. So now it has and the building height is 22, so same height as the pool house. I'm sorry, same height as the guest house.
Hey, John.
Do you want more scale?
Oh, I didn't see it over there. I can manage with
All
this,
right.
but thanks. I'm sorry, so did you have more to say on that?
Well, no, I don't know if you're going where I think you're going, Ray, about the 1 to 1.5 proportion.
No,
Okay.
but okay, I shouldn't start, but I think the cat's already out of the bag. I feel like, I actually disagree. I think that all the other buildings seem much more grounded than this one, and it's the verticality that I'm reacting to, but I told you that, early on. And I understand the issue. I mean, I was the one that actually wanted to sort of redirect the ridge. Diane shared that comment. Are you maxed out on your ground coverage?
We are, yeah.
Okay.
Well, no, but I'm curious what you're going to say.
Well,
You guys-
it's funny because with proportion, if the thing got like a foot wider, it wouldn't feel so vertical.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the only comment I had. Looking at it straight on like this,
Yeah.
it seemed a little pinched,
Oh,
a
well,
little.
I think,
And if you compare it to the other buildings, it's sort of the odd man out, the anomalous one.
Yeah, or even the guest cottage, as I look at this roof line from here.
Yeah.
The closest one, it would be nicer.
well, we would not be opposed to making it wider. I mean, I think that's to our benefit. Leslie, you're
I mean,
comfortable with that?
I'm comfortable with that. Selfishly, I was trying to keep a second floor for a gym because we just look out on nothing but conservation land, and it's just such a waste.
Okay, so, but
not
the
see it
thing
all.
is, adding width to it, you wouldn't have to change the height. In fact, you'd be getting more room.
I'm
on the
fine with that.
second
I was saying to lower it would, I hate to miss out on the opportunity to see the
Right, so
conservation.
I sort of figured that you weren't gonna wanna lose a lot of the height on the second floor, which is why I asked about the ground coverage, because if it got a little wider, you'd basically be at the same place.
Perfect.
What do we do, think 2 feet?
I think we could
15
squeeze,
by 20?
15.7.
Yeah.
that's,
I mean, 2 would make sense, would make the proportion better, right?
What do you,
You're saying if you grow in the longer edge by 2 feet, to make the
for the
Yeah.
width.
2 feet
And
would be,
width.
and I know this from
Which would be
experience, would
ideal.
make a world of difference in
Right.
terms of the proportion.
Yeah, I agree.
So we'd go from,
And you get more space.
right?
Yes, John?
I'd like to explain the general policy for quite a few years is 1.5 in width, 1 in height.
Right.
This is 16 wide, 20
Oh, John,
high.
again, the top row is actually what they already submitted. You should be looking at the other one. But they're gonna make that one less vertical.
Although
Make
that
it a
falls
little
within.
a little bit wider by.
Oh, it does, it matches?
Garage door, how does it open and shut? Overhead, is it open
It's
this
2
way?
panels.
We think it more
Actually,
old-fashioned,
carriage door.
swinging style.
With the hinges on the outside or on the inside, like a batten?
Would be on the outside.
Oh, on the outside.
That generally all go on the inside. We have one garage door, I know,
It
across
has
from
the
the
battens
school.
on the inside.
I'm sorry?
This has the battens on the inside.
Inside.
I know. I'm explaining, we only have one on the island, right? They just built it maybe 6 years ago, across from the school, the battens on the outside. It looks awful.
We're gonna cite those guys. So do you think that you could add 2 feet
Yeah.
to the width of this?
You like 2 feet?
My budget doesn't have 2 more feet, but I'd like
You wanna know something?
I know.
Let me tell you.
I'm teasing.
It's not gonna change your cost at all because you're buying air.
No,
You
no,
know,
2 feet
You're buying
makes a
2
big
more feet
difference.
of air.
Yeah.
Yeah, but should even have some.
Yeah.
Air is expensive.
Is everybody okay with that? I mean,
Oh, absolutely. It's the one thing I noticed on that,
okay.
from this angle. Yeah.
It's gonna result in a building that's very, very marginally taller, but I think that the result would,
There's
more
better
than offset.
proportion.
Put it in with the rest, so it's the same
Yeah.
family, right?
Okay, so if it's widening 2 feet, it's gonna raise the ridge 3.5 inches. Did I do that right?
7
7 inches.
Well, we,
No, that's okay.
yeah. Yeah. Well, we have room.
I've suffered long
We're at
enough.
22 feet
Yeah,
now, so it'll be 22.7.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's in the normal range of a garage.
So I think that that's safe to approve through staff, but, you know, are you guys on board with that?
Yep.
Okay, so can I have a motion on that one?
Motion to approve with the building being widened by 2 feet.
Thank you. All those in favor of Diane's motion?
Aye.
Aye. Sean, Ian?
I think you said, I'm thinking about it.
Okay. All right.
If you allowed food and beverage, I'd actually pop champagne or something right now.
That'd be nice. I have some in the fridge. I should run home.
It's supposed to be straight and narrow.
I like
Yeah,
your
that's
sense of
right.
humor, John.
Are we done?
All right, well, thanks for
Thank you.
hanging in there.
Thanks, guys. Thank you very much.
So I guess we'll see you on the hardscape. That's,
Yeah.
okay, great.
There's minimal.
All right, okay, now we're at 2 Dartmouth, Pearlman.
Mr. Sheriff?
I thought Jimmy lived out on, Milestone Road.
Yeah, you're right there.
And, let me think.
The pool house went through without any. Yeah. Right.
So, Paul and Camp have fallen down.
Correct.
Doing good, how are you
Oh,
doing?
you're
John?
doing good.
I think I'm good.
I'll check with Carrie.
Yeah.
Get back to you.
Call that Dartmouth Road.
Huh?
Dartmouth Road.
No, that's another.
Yeah, it's always been Dartmouth.
Okay. Let's see. This was reviewed, Luke.
Yeah, Amy Manning originally presented this to you, and then she had to go away, so I tried to pick up it to respond to the requests and comments and make clarifications. And hopefully, this tells the story pretty clearly as to what we're hoping to do. We've shown, there was a request for a grading plan and then greater detail for the retaining walls. And so what I've done here is I've drawn all the elevations basically to show how the grade works with the retaining walls and what the impact of the grade of the retaining walls are.
So, am I correct, Luke, in saying that the tallest that the retaining walls are is 2 feet?
Yeah.
Like, I'm looking at your section here, it goes from 27 to
Yeah.
29. Everybody see that section through the site there?
No, what is it?
What?
What you just say?
C
see this section right here?
Yeah.
So the yellow, you kind of have to turn it sideways. The yellow is the retaining wall. And you can see that it basically goes from no retaining wall down in the direction of the house down to 2 feet.
It starts here and then it goes to nothing, and then it starts again.
And those are timber walls, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
got one over here, it says 30.
Oh, you do?
Well, there's a timber wall.
What's this? Garden stone wall.
This thing here, another stone wall,
32 feet long.
which is this one, yeah.
This is long or it's tall?
It's 130 feet long, 24 feet tall.
Oh, okay.
24 inches
feet.
tall.
That's a pretty tall one.
24 inches tall.
Are you, what's that one, section on the right-hand side?
That just shows a picture of bluestone patio.
No, this one.
That's the section that shows you how tall they are.
Well, there was no elevation there because we're not proposing any walls really there.
This is Delaney.
That's Dartmouth. Delaney's basically, it's right here, Dartmouth. So Delaney's like where my hand is. There's another lot here, and then that's Delaney.
Hey, Lou. Luke, one of the comments from the last time this was heard, Christine said something about a board fence
Yeah, we
that was
reduced.
taller than 4 feet apparently.
Yeah,
Is that still part of the
No, we
program?
reduced it down to 48 inches all
Oh,
the way
this
along
is
here.
the board fence?
This is a type, no, we changed the board fence to a type 2 fence that's 48 inches tall.
Okay, so there is no more board fence? Okay, very good.
How close is this is where your AC is gonna be, right?
Yeah.
And you're gonna have a fence around it,
Yeah.
cedar fence 30 inches to block AC units. How, is this the property that he's gonna buy
This is-
later on?
I don't know. This is the 5-foot setback right there.
Okay, so you don't know how close this house is to this house?
Oh, the house is like over here by my hand
Okay,
somewhere.
that's all. I couldn't remember.
Yeah. Here, you can see it right there,
Okay, that's the next house, all right, that's what I
right over there.
wondered.
Okay, anybody ready to start on this one? I'm reviewing the minutes from last time, and it looks like a lot of the stuff has been covered. But Diane, you had comments, the AC, New England Fieldstone.
Let me change the wood, the solid wood fence to the
Yes.
picket fence.
Yeah,
The stone walls, he's now said where they were and how tall they are. So that's all.
so you're okay? Okay. Let's see, Abby, you're new to this, so I think I'm gonna try John out.
Yeah.
Ready, John? Ready for comment?
The question on this site plan here, at 29 feet here at the start of it, at the road where it says, on the left side it says 29 to 32. So if you come over here at the bottom of the wall where the fence starts, that's 30, that's 3 feet. And you got 4, that's 7 feet high.
It's elevation 32. The top of that wall is elevation 32. Those are elevation heights.
Right, but what is the bottom of it? 29.
32. Then the base of the wall.
Above ground, you got,
We have a platform grade of 30 around the whole building.
why is there 29 here? Right here. All of this 29, 85 feet up.
Well, here it is on 1, 2, 30, 31, 32. 32, 31.
Oh, you wanna know something?
But why are you starting at 30? It starts at 29.
No, hey, John,
Because that's my platform grade.
well, hold on, I think there's some confusion. The 29 is like none of the grade except for way over here is at 29. See, he's looking at that, and that's just that thin line. If you look underneath where the grade is, you see a really thin line.
Yeah, the 29.
That's the 29.
Okay.
And then everything else is at 30,
Okay.
all the way
The
across.
total length is 29 down there.
Fine. But if you start here
Yeah,
at 29,
yeah.
32 is at the bottom of the fence. That's 3 foot. Then you go 4 foot of fence, that's 7 foot high. Of grade. This is the grade.
Actually, it slopes down, if you look at the profile. It slips down from 2 feet high down to nothing.
Yeah.
Do we need to have the fence on top of the stone wall?
You do.
Right, this is still from
There?
7 foot, we're approving 7 foot fence.
Well,
on top of the
you're,
wall.
you're actually approving a 4-foot fence on top of a 2-foot wall. Am I correct in saying that, Luke?
Yeah.
It's a 4-foot pool fence,
Okay.
and it's a 2-foot retaining wall.
Okay, if they're starting on 30, why is there 29, 1 foot below it?
Because the 29 is way over here, and the 29, it's not even at the road, it's basically over here at the neighbor's property.
It was just a datum line.
Hard to understand, that's all.
Yeah, no, I know.
Okay.
But on the neighbor's property, all they're gonna have is a 4-foot high pool fence, because his grade is actually lower than the neighbor's grade.
Tell me why we have to have the fence on top of the wall.
Well, because the rule is it needs to be 4 feet from the outside. Okay, imagine a kid trying to get into the pool, right? So if you have a 2-foot wall and then a 2-foot high fence going into the
He'll go
pool,
right
that's
over.
4 feet. But if it goes down, then you have to have 4 feet on top of that. It's all like coming from the outside,
Right. I see
trying to
that.
get in.
So it will only be a 6-foot tall combination of fence and wall?
Yes.
Because we don't want to set up a whole bunch of big tall walls.
The grade actually slopes down to the
Yeah, I
back.
mean, he's actually cutting in, and the neighbor's higher than him.
Yeah.
So, he's kind of correcting a problem. Abby, you've been,
Quiet?
oh yeah,
I've been,
eerily so.
I'm just trying to understand this as you guys talk. It's the only question I had too.
The wood wall?
Yeah.
Yeah, see, now that's interesting, because that wall actually is, his grade is higher on that side, and it goes to the neighbor, it's like the lots kind of slope down that direction.
It's complicated.
Yeah.
And are these going to be trees, or do we know yet? Or is it just going to be some sort of shrubs?
Yeah, Amy, that's all native, natural screening. Mixture of privet and then, I don't have the planning schedule, but.
She's still doing it?
Yeah.
What, who's doing this?
Amy Manning,
So to make a motion to approve?
I'm very comfortable with this.
Okay,
I think
that's,
it'll
I'm gonna get something.
All right, so there's a motion on the table to approve this as submitted. All those in favor of Diane's motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Okay, Thistle Road, gazebo. I think we were holding this for representation.
You actually opened it,
Oh, yeah, we made some comments. Oh, yeah, so here you go. I think, if memory serves me, Jamie, it was like, there were a few too many Victorian gewgaws. Do we have drawings of this?
Yeah, I'm actually surprised that to hear that you opened it, because I thought that we had submitted it as a park.
As a what?
As the park, but that we didn't actually have the gazebo details at that time.
Oh, well, my recollection is the only thing that we reviewed
Was the
like a
gazebo?
picture of a gazebo. It
Oh.
had like a lot of sort of little
Right here.
brackets and.
Okay,
Is that it?
Thank you.
That's
Oh
it.
my God.
That's what we.
That's fine,
reviewed.
you have one.
okay.
Give me back
That
my
makes sense.
picture. Done.
I was wondering how I got to, old business. But anyway, I've been asked to come. Jamie Feely Cottage and Castle,
like
I'm the
the airport.
contractor. Yeah,
Oh,
it's an
gosh,
Amish,
okay.
it's an Amish made,
Yeah, there's a gazebo out there.
gazebo from Pennsylvania.
Maybe that was,
Okay, well, so Jamie, I don't know about the park that you just mentioned, but what we have down here, what we're supposed to be reviewing
Yes,
is the gazebo.
correct.
Okay? So, refresh my memory. Do we have a board on this one?
Yeah, I think John and, no. It's Paul Coombs, Glazer Oliver Cooner, so it's Paul Coombs, Diane and McLaughlin, or Camp and McLaughlin. Basically to see it simplified.
Right. So is this a prefab thing? Who has the drawing?
gazebo,
I have this.
I just have a picture of it.
Does that, is,
Oh, wait a minute, maybe it's in, hold on. Yeah, there we go.
Do they still have the, sort of the building where people get together and meet?
They do.
They do,
That's staying, that's actually, a little exercise room now.
yeah.
You guys approved a new pool on
Right.
the backside, that's gonna be a bigger pool. There's now the park area, which is being expanded about double in size. And so as part of that expansion and redesign, and the concept is it's gonna be akin to the Athenaeum with lots of trees and, not totally real visible from the road. Or the roads in this case, because there's one on each side.
Right,
And so the developer wanted to see some sort of central structure for, gathering or conjugating.
right, well, it's mailman when it first started, a long time ago, when it first came through, so I didn't know whether that concept was still there, where the gazebo would be,
I'm sorry, what concept?
whether they still had a main building and a
Oh,
swimming
yes,
pool and all that
actually,
jazz.
the gazebo is directly online with the ridge of that building.
So Diane? There's the building you're talking about?
Yes,
There's the
Pool.
revised pool, there's the gazebo.
right, and
It's
it's
just
all,
like the mall in Washington DC.
Right.
an obelisk.
Exactly. The Feely Monument. So do you have comments on the design, Diane?
We just
I
talked
think-
gazebo.
Yes.
that fitting
Just
into
gazebo.
what at least used to look like a long time ago, I would take out the brackets. I don't mind the fretwork up at the top. It's not a very busy area there, and the buildings aren't very busy, so I'd keep it as simple as possible. I don't mind it as it is actually. I think it's nice looking, but I think it might last longer if the brackets weren't there and couldn't be used to swing on.
Okay.
Right?
Great.
See that.
John? You ready?
Just fooling with a magnifying glass.
I know.
I don't even know where it is.
It's in between Scott's Way and Rugged Road, behind the Lighthouse School.
Out of that subdivision?
Yes. This is the community pool for that subdivision. But what we're reviewing now is Jamie would like to put a gazebo there. Do you have comments on it, Abigail?
It's Essex Green?
Yes.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I think the shape is a little ornate for, and when I think of rugged road, I think of, black pines and sort of soft. I think it's a little ornate for there. Is there a way to simplify the design somehow? Like Diane said, for sure, no brackets. I was just thinking of the shape, so it's a
It's an octagon.
octagon. Could it be a hexagon? It's a hexagon, 6. I mean, could it be, it just looks very ornate. It almost looks like you're coming on a circus.
I think that, first of all, this is prefab. Jamie's not building this. I think that the next, stock piece down would be a square.
No, I don't think it's.
Yeah, it's coming from Amish country, if approved.
Oh, this is coming from the, okay, all right, so it's well built.
Coming from a little,
I mean,
coming on a wagon.
Yeah,
That's not to say that we, that we can't go back to them and ask them to, make modifications, but selecting from X amount of styles, this is actually on the simpler end of the spectrum. So, but I mean,
I don't mind it. I wouldn't think it.
The brackets are the only thing that really, I think, are, a little too, Victorian for me.
yeah.
we could
it's
easily
dark.
omit them.
Yeah.
John, your comments on it?
Looks like a disabled,
We're gonna try and simplify it a little by getting rid of those brackets. There's little Victorian brackets there.
Yeah, big on top, so.
When it's painted as a screen, it will be,
It'll go into the
it'll,
pine trees.
Yeah. So what do we think? We ready?
Where's the, little hat on top? Yeah, can it lose the hat? Can it lose the cupola?
Don't they have one of those out at the airport? I think the one at the airport has the little thing on it. I think so.
Anyway, probably one of those things you can't just
Actually,
pick and choose with.
I don't want to say yes or no. I mean, certainly we could ask if that was important to you guys.
I think John's right. I think if you lose the cupola and the brackets, it would be fine.
okay. All right, so is that the motion?
Yeah.
All right. We have a motion on the table to approve this, eliminating the brackets and the little cupola on top. All those in favor of Abby's motion?
Fine.
Aye. Okay.
Thank you all.
Yeah, see what you can do.
I'm sure we'll be able to
Let
work
us
it out,
know.
even if we have to modify it.
Even if you have to go down
Tomorrow morning.
and rough them up. Okay. 26 Washington. How's it going?
Good evening.
Howdy. I'm thinking that we approved this. It keeps coming back.
I thought we were there last time. You said minor
Yeah.
revisions, which we
Did we
made.
say that?
On the minutes, it actually says
Okay.
minor revisions.
Our board,
Paul Coombs, McLaughlin, and Camp London.
excellent. Thank you for doing that. Okay, great.
Chip Webster and Ethan Griffin on behalf of the applicant. At the last meeting, there were 2 requests, which we made those changes. One was lowering the ridge height on the L. We lowered it to the height that was matched the existing approval. And then there was a question on some windows, which we also changed back to what is existing approved.
Sorry. Okay, the west elevation, which is the front that faces Washington Street.
That's right.
We lowered that side ridge as
That's
per our request.
correct.
Okay, good. And then, nothing on the, east.
Correct.
Okay. And we see our reduced ridge on the south elevation.
Correct.
We're looking at the gable of it. And nothing else?
Well, no, okay, so on the on the south elevation, on the right-hand side, the windows were split.
Yes.
So we changed it back to what's already existing approved. These windows right here. They were pushed out to the corners on the previous submittal.
Okay. What was our request? You said we had two requests, I distinctly
We had,
remember.
you had concern in those windows.
Yeah.
About them being not mold?
No, it was more that they were mold, but they were pushed to
They
like
were
the
pushed-
corner boards basically,
Okay, they were
which
wall
seemed.
Well, they were pushed out to the corner boards because they wanted a fireplace between
Is that on the
That's on the south elevation, because Diane, you've consistently said how you don't like this
Well,
mold
this is
window.
come a long way
I don't
since
have
I
to
saw
see
this. I mean, I saw this like a month and a half ago. Looks great. Really looks great.
But that was it.
Yep.
Okay, folks, there you have it.
Okay.
Reduced ridge on that side gable. And basically, they're bringing back the windows that used to be spread far apart on that. If we're looking at the south elevation, it would be on the far right-hand gable, and they brought them back to what was previously approved, which is the drawing down below it.
is the mall window? What's
This
that?
is the mall windows. They do appear to be smaller. I'm not sure whether that's accurate. Smaller than the ones that were approved.
They may be one size smaller.
On the window schedule, yeah, listed by number. You've got the windows here, C and D. Over here, the Cs, what are they? It doesn't say what they are.
I think the window schedule is actually a little bit further. Next, open one more leaf.
What's here?
There we go.
Window.
Here we go.
There you go, there you go.
Hopper
Hop up, all right.
and
C.
fixed. C is
That's what he
fixed.
likes.
D is hopper.
Huh.
There's one more.
Oh, there's
Okay.
it. Fixed.
Oh, that's not, two different ones. Okay.
Well, they're fixed. Yeah.
Oh, how can that be a hopper?
No, it's fixed. The three, those are fixed. John.
Those are fixed.
Okay, yeah.
Correct. The 4 light hop.
For the future.
Diane,
I'm going to abstain.
you're going to abstain.
Yeah, I can't.
The mold
Can't
windows.
stand it.
Right, I can't stand the number of windows there, the location of the house, so I'll just abstain.
Okay. Abigail?
Well, I think it's made great strides since I last saw it, but that was a month and a half ago at least. I think it looks simplified and a lot better, so I'm fine with the changes.
Okay. Yeah, and even though those windows are mold, I mean, the fact that they were approved that way before, I don't remember under what circumstances, but the fact is they were approved. So, can I have a motion on this one? Am I on?
Ms. Johns?
Or were you about to? Okay.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay. All those in favor of Abby's motion to approve as submitted?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and you do abstain. Okay, and so we have one abstention. Diane is abstaining from this. There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
More?
That's it.
No, that's it. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. Wow. Front door change. Okay. Do we have a board on this?
Paul Coombs, McLaughlin, Camp,
great application.
I think we're on a
13.
roll. I think we're on a roll.
You did a lot of work while it
Although
was
I'm not sure
gone.
I'm gonna approve this one. I think just because
Just
we
wanted to say
approved tonight,
13.
we're gonna have to close the door.
13 is a good number.
That's an unlucky number. You're
Yeah.
right.
This is
Thank you
so
for
bizarre.
pointing that out. Okay, so what do we have here?
Last time I was here, the window panes were kind of horizontal, so we just changed the proportion to make it look more vertical, and same type door, nothing else.
Okay. Comments from the board? Who's ready?
How are they gonna use that little piece of land over on the other side of it?
Need to use
It's
a rowboat.
shape. What?
Need to use a rowboat.
A rowboat to get over
Yeah.
there, but isn't it nice they have that?
There is a little walkway also, little path around.
Very nice.
Huh.
Kind of
They
interesting
could
shape.
play golf up at this,
Yeah, you could,
head for that.
What do you think, Diane?
I don't mind it, except unless he desperately needs the space, I think for that, the little shed dormers should come in.
Shed dormer was already.
Yeah, I think the only thing we're reviewing right now is the entry door.
Oh,
Yeah.
the rest of it's
What-
passed?
Everything else is passed, and
Let me find the entry door.
the issue last time was that he had it, more, the glass panes were sort of horizontal, not vertical.
Yeah. I just thought,
Oh, which you can see if you
Oh,
look
yeah.
at the,
light blue one.
those CC windows are still chiclets, and they still have to be changed.
It's
C
already
windows, C
built.
windows, the wrong shape.
It's already, so everything is approved.
yeah, we're
Except the
literally
door.
here
It's only the
for
door.
that front door.
Well, I don't like the front door either, sorry.
But the front door doesn't really look like that. It's, what color is it?
Natural wood,
Like,
good mahogany.
mahogany, is it, natural to weather, or is it, what?
Yeah, I mean,
Or
not
poly,
natural to weather, but
Nat-
kept natural, but of course
Oiled
it is a finish.
Yeah,
It
could I give
doesn't
you a
change the
hint
color.
on that? If you do go natural, use the tongue oil or a
Yeah.
combination, because when the water gets under the polyurethane, it
It's
just starts to
impossible, it
look,
turns it black.
Yeah,
starts
of
to look
course.
It's really awful.
gray, gray.
Yeah.
Excuse me, Chairman. You guys have listed as Essex Green in the application.
Oh,
The door.
okay.
Oh,
Does it
See,
matter, does it matter to you?
not really. No, I think natural will actually look better.
Wait, what's
Because it
everything,
is natural.
sorry, what is the trim?
Trim.
Trim is gray,
Oh.
window sash black.
Okay,
I think the natural will. I mean, doesn't really matter to me.
all right, well, so if that's your preference, we'll see where this goes, but we'll put it in the motion. John, are you ready to comment on this front door revision?
Okay, where's the front door, part of this?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say, you wanna change the door to this? What would it have before?
It was a narrower door with side lights. It was a 3-foot door.
Six-panel door?
Yeah.
Oh, I think that's what
Six.
should be back in.
It was 6 light, 2 panel.
Yeah, it detracts from it, this is a, it's not a batten door, but it's typical for a wood door, it's not
Yeah.
typical for a front door.
It's changed to no side lights. That's why we wanted to. There are no side lights, no windows.
Right.
That's why we wanted to keep some
Okay, this is a
glass.
six-light door,
Yeah.
should be a six-panel, 2 lights at top, 2 panels, maybe, something like that.
Is there a reason that you got rid of the side lights? I can't remember. It's like a stair. in the
Stair,
wall.
yeah. Stair on one side.
Because the side lights would give it levity there. It's, there are no fenestrations around
Yeah.
the front door.
That's why we wanted to get as much glass.
I get it. So
Yeah.
the issue is, and I've encountered this myself, if the stair's coming down, you have
Yeah.
the side light, and then the stair doesn't work because it gets in the way of the side light.
And even to the right of the door, you couldn't have some kind of fenestration there.
It's not a
To
very,
the left, right?
I don't think it's the
Staircase
front
is
door
on
that's
to
in
the right.
keeping with the design of the building.
Oh, it's to the right.
I didn't realize it's the 42 store too. Last.
Conundrum.
Well, we should give our applicant here some guidance.
Okay, so when I'm looking at the front door, you're saying the staircase is to the right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that goes, uses up all of this
It
space.
basically
no
comes
fenest-
down so that it's
Comes
so
up.
close to the door that it doesn't allow enough room for a side.
What if they were like high clear story windows? They could, is that illegal or something?
No.
No, it can be there. It can
Yeah,
be.
it
We
would
had
be
there are
cool.
windows. The owner wanted to get rid of the windows. He didn't want to have windows at all there.
Who?
That's why
The owner
the homeowner, yeah.
wanted to get rid of the windows.
Yeah, because it was originally was door and windows. Then we got
But were
rid
they
of the
big windows or little windows?
Little ones.
And he didn't like that.
Didn't like that, so that's why he went to side light and then we went to this door. So
Okay.
How wide is this door?
42 inches, that's 3.5.
36. Yeah.
I think it should have, I don't know what the screws are, it should have a normal
Well,
corner.
those are, if it's a natural door, those are the little bungs that hold the wood together. So as Abby said earlier, it's not gonna be that conspicuous. Those are
And,
little pegs.
And we can make it actually the Essex green also to make it
Then
less
you wouldn't see any of
visible.
that stuff. You know, it'll all be painted out.
Yeah.
Black mountains,
Yeah, that's right.
gray trim, and a green door.
I'd have
Something's
one
gotta
more
go
piece of
somewhere.
trim on the sides, if you can squeeze it in, the door doesn't look like the front door, I don't know.
Because it doesn't have the sort of.
Trim.
Yeah, usually for a front door, we're looking for a little bit more.
Yeah.
Cause the,
Pilasters, you know, on either side.
Yeah.
we don't need all that, but the design of the house, it seems to me, calls for a little more substantial front door.
I know, everything's fine, it's just this front door and the space on either side.
Well, so are you agreeing with Diane that if we enhance the trim around the door, that it would be
I
okay?
think that would help.
And do you have any kind of preference on painted, natural, if
I think-
painted,
I
what
think-
color?
I think those three colors, I think natural would be better, actually.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
Because I
Natural,
think
yeah.
it would,
Okay, thank you. Yes.
This style of door should be explained as that when you have this type that you put the plugs after you put the screws in to tighten the door. You know, because you usually use, this door would usually go where you had planked frames. The planked frames are the only one that have plugs in them. Because they extend beyond what windows extend, casings extend to 2 by 4 inches. And this is not typical for this style of house.
Is that
Other than no other
those
windows
plugs
that
don't
don't have any plugs in them.
extend. They don't extend the plugs. The plugs are flush. It's all flush. All.
I know, but the appearance of it.
Well, we could get rid of
it, yeah.
Standard door.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we can get rid of them. Yeah.
Yeah, because they're decorative anyway.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like, John,
It's a
that,
Simpson door. That actually it looks like this.
what's that?
It's a Simpson door. Simpson.
Yeah.
And they make it look like this. So
Right.
I'm sure we can
Without
get rid of
the
them.
plugs.
Yeah. With the plugs, actually. But we can make them without. Yeah.
sure.
Okay. So, John, I think we have a majority that's in favor of just enhancing the trim around this door to make it look more like a front door.
Are those skinny columns already? Because those could be, if not,
Yeah, they're really skinny.
yeah.
It'll see the appearance of the door.
I think those are already okay, but,
Those are okay. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, can I have a motion?
Motion to approve with the front door to be natural mahogany. With
No-
no
no plugs.
no bung hole.
No bungs.
Bung holes, plugged bung
Okay,
holes.
yep.
Sounds
Yeah.
awful. And, yeah.
Are we increasing the?
And wider trim around the door.
Oh, yes. Yes, could you do that?
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, no problem. I'll do that, yeah.
Okay. All those in favor of Abby's motion?
Aye.
Now, are you, okay, and so we have 3 in favor, 1 opposed, John's opposed. Okay. Yeah, I've heard that Terry may actually experience this. I've heard that it's difficult to tell from the tapes, et cetera, like, who's actually voting, whether you had like, unanimous vote, any abstentions, so I'm gonna try and get better about saying exactly whether it was.
Memos as far as speaking in the microphones as well, too.
Oh, I try and ignore.
Yeah, that
I
video.
ignore those. Jesus, memos. Hello.
Yeah.
Terry, okay. John, I don't think we're gonna require 2 hours. I think we'll be done before that.
Yeah, we gotta make haste.
Chop chop, so let's go. All right. This was reviewed, correct?
It was held for review without comment.
Oh, okay, so we got a full board on this.
Yeah.
Are you agreeing with that, John Hedden?
I'm not. I think there was some comments made. We read the historic structures, but it was yourself and Diane and John and Abby Mold and.
Okay, very good.
Sorry.
But, so, that would imply that we didn't motion for revisions.
Correct.
So we're basically looking at the same thing we looked at the first time.
Yes.
Abby, I'm gonna have you start.
Okay.
Because this was a view,
Okay. So, let me just get this straight.
unless you have objections to that.
I have a question. I don't have an objection. So, this, you're combining the existing building on the site with this new proposed building, is that?
No.
No.
So just to back up, bigger picture, the parcel originally was one larger parcel that goes from Fair Street to Jefferson. It was subdivided. You can see the subdivision line, which is just off of the secondary structure that's on the property now. And the intent with that is to basically remove that section that's highlighted in blue, and then do some fenestration changes to it. And then so the structure that's outlined in red is an entirely new structure.
What's the date of the blue proposed demolition?
It's just it's not a full demolition. It's just a partial demolition, and I don't believe it's of any significant age. I want to say 1960s. I don't know if that's.
Wasn't that approved last week or two?
I don't know. I was gonna ask that question.
Yeah, I think you had approval for an addition of it.
Okay.
No, there's
There's a
no
removal.
addition off of this. It's taking a piece off.
Just a demo, like a small section demo off of it.
But you're retaining,
Yeah, that was approved, yeah.
It was approved.
but you, and the rest of the buildings is,
This is the new building, right?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, you're looking at the new building.
This is the one that the perimeter is in red on
Right.
this plan.
How big is that little building that's just outside new? It belongs to the house that's up on Lion Street?
How big?
Oh, that's tiny.
Yeah.
That's a little one-bay garage with a peach tree in front of it.
Oh. Oh,
I mean, the parcel,
oh, all right, now I know. Just
yeah.
he was a very nice gentleman and
He
had
was
his
great.
peach tree and he used to let us pick the peaches.
Exactly.
Now I
He's
know.
no longer of this earth, but
No,
he
he
used to
died
go down there with
years
the
ago.
kids, yep.
He was a very good friend of Diane's too.
Yeah.
what color is the front, the clapboard? What color?
The clapboard, I believe, is, we call it out as white trim, white clapboard. And I did talk to the clients, and I know that one of the things that was mentioned was potentially removing the clapboard, and so the clients would be okay with that if the board felt strongly.
Are you gonna stick with the green that's on the existing, like, this existing complex is that dark green?
We weren't planning on it.
What were you doing?
Gonna go to white for the new structure and the gray. I'm sorry, the green. I don't think we applied for a color change for the other structure, but we'd certainly be open to it.
Because it obviously was part of the other house.
Yeah, I mean,
We're getting ahead of ourselves, so,
yeah. Well, we're trying to get our footing, because when I saw that site, it reminded me of, the Sconset, little Sconset, not shacks, but, you know, those Underhill cottages or
Yeah.
something similar. And they do seem to be, that Essex green, that seems to be one of the colors, and it would be nice to keep that, because there's a thread of history there.
Well, I think we'd be open to, I think as it is right now, I think that the cottage that was approved, I believe that does stay green, but the new structure we were hoping to be white. And we also did, not that you guys all went to the site, but I printed out just some of the site photographs we had taken earlier. If you've been to the site, it might be irrelevant, but.
That's a house right around the corner.
Yeah.
That's at the corner of Fair and Ryan. Any architectural issues, Abby?
Well, at a glance, the east elevation, I don't understand why the D windows are so small. I can relate to the Bs, but they get so small on the east. Why is that?
They could be Bs. I think the idea was, which is probably not, I don't think you really ever see these two elevations in the same perspective as the east elevation. If you look at the second floor back, L, if you will, that dormer, we went with the smaller windows so that we could get as close as possible to aligning the meeting rails, and then we thought that it would be consistent to go with that same window size, but there's no reason why we couldn't go to Bs at all.
They just look, they look fine on the west.
Yeah, I agree. We can make those Bs.
I don't know if they fit. No.
They do fit, actually, because we did look at it.
Ray, this is a house, picture of the house on the corner of Fair and Jefferson, right?
Yeah.
But
And
that's
so-
not this house that we're doing.
No, so that house was the house that used to own all this property. It went all the way back. And they have the little outbuilding that is now on his piece of property.
Right.
That's painted green.
Right.
And they just got approval to remove that little piece off it. So this new house is going in the backyard of that house.
Of this.
Yes.
Because I go up that street
Yeah.
all the time.
Yep.
And
I think
it's an old house.
John's going to tell you can't have 3 skylights.
Yeah.
Be better.
I can anticipate that.
I'd feel shorted if he didn't say that.
Well, I just want to make sure that we're not talking about the one on the corner of Mulberry, right?
No.
No. Okay. Just want to make sure, because this looks like a similar thing that I was,
This is the house that we just did fairly short time ago, that we let them have the windows in the porch.
Had 3 chimneys.
Yeah.
That they kept.
It's a wonderful house.
Fabulous house. So, anything else?
No, I think it's, the height is 27.5. The other houses around that area are pretty, it's not as tall as this.
If you look at the photographs, they're probably all in that range.
No, I
No?
disagree.
If you drive up the
Totally
street, you're looking at the old peach tree, and you see a little shed, and then you look behind, and there's a 2-story something with a walkway, porch around. They're all different heights in the sort of the center.
The backside, you're looking at the backside of that one that's on Lion Street. Yeah, that was an old rooming house.
Well,
I mean, there are some tall buildings in there, but I think generally,
Some short,
the-
short ones too. What is that
this,
doing?
yeah, the
Can you
scale
telephone?
of
I don't know how
that
to
street
make
in
it work.
particular is
Uh-huh.
modest. But anyway,
I think the height's an issue anyway. Can they help me with that, Diane?
John, do you have comments while Diane's checking it out?
Yeah,
The other one just died.
highly visible, it will be highly visible.
Yes, for sure.
The way it's laid out, on what he calls it, north elevation, you got one skylight per roof line.
There you go.
Well, that takes care of that stuff. On the west elevation, second floor, you've got you have the meeting rails go up or the roof go down, one or the other. Yeah, roof on that floor. And on the east elevation, second floor right, is the, it'll bring down the meeting rails, bring them up.
Oh.
Move something there, straighten that up. The rest of it looks fine for the area. Thing is, it's all gonna be visible. Even from
Lion Street.
Jefferson, from Lion Street, everything's gonna be visible. Those are my comments, thank you.
Thanks.
Mr. Chair, can I ask a quick question for John, just on that point? Specifically on this, because I could drop the, sorry, I have a nasty cold here. The meeting rails on the west elevation, John, those are, basically I could drop that plate height. If I do that, if you go to the south elevation, you'll see I tried to keep a hierarchy between the plate height of the secondary added mass, so that was like a little bit lower. If I did drop them, they would probably align. I just want to make sure that you would be okay with that. I could make the meeting rails line up, but the eve line of the main mass and the secondary mass would be the same. We'd still have a ridge height difference of probably in the range of 2 feet.
Actually, that's the only problem, you know?
Yeah, I could drop that. I just want to make sure that when I drop it, see that? It's not gonna.
Yeah, but when you drop these down, don't have them off the wall.
Yeah, I'll drop it. I can drop it.
That's my comments on that. Thank you.
Good. Okay, thank you, John. Diane, you were interrupted by your phone. Do you have more comments?
Yeah, it's just on the, what is it, west elevation. This building that with just that one little floor, what's in here?
That's actually a kitchen, and the owner has a pretty specific idea about how they want to do the cabinetry, and so
that's with the window well below that wall right there,
there is a window well there, yes.
and the stove. That's where there aren't any windows. Okay.
Yes. On that point too, if I could point out, I talked with the owners as well, and we are showing window wells that are on Jefferson, and we're going to omit those. I know you haven't requested that we will, but we are going to omit the window wells on the.
That's a good idea.
Oh, good.
That's really nice of you. Thinking ahead.
Huh? Thinking ahead. Actually,
Always gonna
it was a
comment
client.
on
The client said it, wasn't me.
Oh,
Full disclosure.
you can take the credit.
I know. You know, the Catholic guilt, you know.
Is
Okay.
the pitch of this roof, like on the south elevation, is it very much like the pitch of this roof
Yeah.
of the house on the corner?
Yes. I don't know if it matches exactly, but it's definitely steeper.
It looks pretty close to it.
I think that's a 12 and 12 there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty darn close.
Yeah, this is a 12 and a 12.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Too. So, no, the window, or the dormer windows, go up and down. I guess it doesn't matter.
I-
The ridge line went along.
I'd probably just drop the second floor plate height of that main mass. Probably thinking like 9 inches would do it to get it
To get it.
in the ballpark there.
Oh, yeah, at least, I don't think you need much more than that. And I'm sure that the 3 skylights,
We're gonna get, can I keep one of them? Can I keep the center one?
You like
Yeah.
that one?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
One per roof
John
line.
will give you.
And I knew that going in, but I did say to Clive, but I said, due to lack of visibility, we could ask, so understood. And then the clapboard itself, anyone have a strong opinion about that?
I don't have any objection to it.
On the front there.
Right. But, so, you all set, Diane?
Yeah.
Okay.
I do, just if you
Yep.
were to do, so if it's white and white, could you at least do an Essex green door to go with the old building?
Definitely. That'd be nice.
I think the main ridge is too tall. I think that dropping it down so that you can get John's meeting rails to align would do two things. It would get the meeting rails to align, and then the ridge wouldn't be so tall. I think that having it line up, the eave line up with the subordinate mass is kind of the lesser of the evils in that case. I also have a problem with these two gable dormers facing Jefferson. They're really close together, so it's kind of making the building more complicated than it needs to be, I think.
That's
Shed
on the
dorm-
west elevation?
That's on the south elevation,
South.
which is the one that runs, on Jefferson. That's
Yeah.
what you're gonna see from Jefferson.
Right.
So I'd like to see that simplified. And tell me about this chimney, because it doesn't even come close to meeting code in terms of its height. But having said that, I also don't, if it were to go that high, I think it would be objectionable because it would be super tall. And it's also really, really close to that dormer, like uncomfortably so. So,
Given that it's a Victorian sort of a style,
yeah.
I think it could be taller, and they did have skinny sort of chimneys.
Okay. But so close to the dormer, maybe moves it a little bit.
We did notice that the chimney, we actually corbelled it to the right, so they could clear that dormer.
Right.
We really were trying to get a dormer inside that bedroom, just because it needed it. We were
You
actually
mean
going-
to the left of the chimney?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I could go thinner with it. Yeah, I think it probably does need to go taller. But it
I
has
think
that.
it needs to go a lot taller.
We can put it outside.
What's that?
I said we could put it outside, on the side.
I believe it actually is partially outside.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think it just needs to be looked at. So, have we set our piece on this one?
Let's hold for revisions.
Sure. Okay, very good. All those in favor of Abby's motion to hold this for some revisions? Aye.
That's so I put these pictures in with the.
Sure, it can't hurt, right?
All right. So you got Fogarty.
Anybody want to take a quick break?
We can take a break if you would like. It's 7:30. John, do you want to take a break? You need one? I think then we should probably hold on Fogarty, because that's going to take a little time to review all that, right?
It's just the move demo of the cottage on lot 12.
No, I know, it's the little low building.
Yeah.
Hey, it's up to you guys. You want to take the break now, or do you want to do Matt's stuff first? You don't care?
Okay.
Okay. Diane, you okay?
Yep.
All right.
I can wait
And
too.
Matt's just got to hustle it along. Okay,
Easy.
let's go.
Okay, thank you. Mr.
40
Chair.
Jefferson, Lot 12, move demo dwelling.
So this is a structure that sits in the back of what is now known as Lot 12, next to 40 Jefferson, which is the reno that we've done next door. Basically, we came in for a move demo, and the date of the structure is from 1920s. I think Matthew asked for some additional information, asked us to identify portions of the structure that looked like there were later additions, which we've identified just via some hatching here, but it's pretty clear that the structure, the oldest portion of it is from the 1920. And John, do we have that as a move demo or just a demo?
Yeah, it's I believe it's a
Move demo. That's what it says on here.
I mean, I don't think we can move it, but I want at least, I think we actually have to, no matter what, advertise.
Yes, you do, because it's a dwelling.
Yeah.
So
I wonder, like, in situations where it's like clearly you can't move it because it's in bad shape.
sometimes you can get Steve Butler
Just to
to
say.
you know, if it's hugely impractical to move it or whatever, but you know, there's no harm in advertising it.
Sure.
So this is the extent of it. Like, basically, you are showing us where the newer additions are.
Yep, what we believe is post 1920.
Okay. But, I mean, these are the newer additions, but then the part that, the old part, which is the middle, the unhatched part, is the old part, which you're also requesting a demo on.
Yes.
Okay. Everybody understand that?
Where do we see this?
Where? You mean where is it?
No, I know where it is, but where do you see it as you drive up Jefferson?
You know the house that he just came in with all the stuff on that has the big sort of turret in front?
Yes.
Okay, so you pass that house, there's a little sort of cobblestone wall, the grade goes down a little bit, and then there's a big stockade fence between this little cottage and the parking lot for the beach club. So it sits right there on the back of the lot, sort of furthest away. There's a big, huge yard in front of
Right.
it.
Do you
But
remember
that's
the
where it
Hamlins?
is.
The Hamlins? I think this was their house.
Oh.
Because I visited this house when I was a little girl. I'm absolutely sure. That's very important information.
It is. Yeah. Comments from the board? Abby?
Well, I'm partial to this one. But we are going for a
Basically call it a demo, because if you can't move it,
demo.
right.
Gosh.
Well, if he doesn't have an emergency where it's gonna fall down, doesn't it have to be a move first, move demo?
Well, what he has to do, because it's a dwelling, if it were a garage or something like that, he wouldn't have to do it. But because it's a dwelling, he has to advertise it in the paper, and he has to let it run, he has to wait 30 days, and anybody who's interested in moving it, he has to, you know, basically see if it's feasible to move.
And
That's a
this-
building department rule.
This is its lot?
Yes.
Yes.
And
And you're
Jefferson,
gonna do a little similar small building on it, right?
In the, well, actually, I mean, I know that it's hard to believe, but in the back, the intent is to draw or to design a smaller scale structure so we don't obstruct the view of the house that's up on the hill.
right.
The house that's,
Oh.
the main house for this lot will be close to the road. That will be tall.
See lot 13?
Mm-hmm.
That's the one with the
Context.
turret on it. So the view's this way, so he's not gonna wanna build something right there.
Uh-huh, okay. Well, I'm okay with this then.
Okay? Diane?
Yeah, if we put it that way and see it, at least we can try to see if somebody wants it.
Somebody might, you know, every time we advertise, people come. We moved a house in Surfside once that I did not think anybody would be interested or could move, and they ended up moving it. Amber took it.
Yeah, it's not, this building is not that big, so you'd think it would be a relatively easy move.
Yeah.
Put it on the back. If Walter was around, he would move it.
He would take it.
Put it on the back of the property, fix it up.
What's that?
Well, it is on the back of the property right now.
You can have it.
I'd love it, but I don't have a
Yeah.
piece of land.
Well, you can buy yourself a piece of land.
John? You okay? Okay.
I would make a motion to move or demo application.
Okay. All those in favor of Diane's motion to approve the move/demo of this building?
Aye.
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 I think we have a unanimous on that.
Yeah,
That was a long time.
I had very good friends who lived right down
This
there.
is the garage. Oh, the garage is,
What did he do?
I don't know, but I used to visit with my grandmother back in
We're gonna keep these doors.
are you? They're great doors. I'm sure that's gonna be the comment. Those doors don't look that old.
I don't think they are.
I think they're, they basically redid them.
Yeah. They're not that old, but they're nice looking.
Yeah.
You gonna save them?
Do we have to, should we
Probably-
make some statement, since the building is 1920, as to why we're allowing the move or demo?
We could, and for me, it's basically that the original building has so many pieces that were added on to it subsequently. And I have actually been through the building, and, it's not in very good repair. So, but I think the main thing is, once you took off all the many additions that have happened to that building over the years, there's really not much left.
Is it the same for the, did you want to write that into it? Are you writing?
She's
it?
writing that into it.
Did
Yeah.
you want to do the same?
Did you want to make a motion to reopen that last
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
to
sure, let's
incorporate
reopen that
that.
last application.
Thank you, John. All those in favor of Abby's motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so, the new language for the approval will include,
So many additions added to the building over the years that the original shape, the original structure is lost.
Has been lost, yeah.
correct. So all those in favor of Diane's motion?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks. Okay, so now we have the garage.
So the garage is, dates from roughly the same time, if not later, by a few years. Again, it's kind of set into the grade, and yeah,
Oh,
just like-
yeah, right, the back of this is
Yeah.
like basically built into the side of the hill.
Yeah, it's over. Not that it matters, but it's over the setback, and the rear corner of it actually is solid block wall.
Yeah.
We would like to keep the doors,
Yeah,
whether it's one set or all, or both.
I'll make a motion to approve the move demo due to the condition of the sills being rotten.
Okay. Do we want to make a condition that the doors are saved, or that's kind of up to Matt?
I'd like that, we would like to save those doors if possible.
Yeah.
I don't know if
I would
it's
too.
I think they're charming as can be. So all those in favor of Abby's motion to approve the move-off/demo of this building based on the compromised structure and the applicant's willingness to save the 4 garage doors. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
And we have a shed.
A shed too?
That's what it
Oh,
says.
that's right, there's a shed on there, I'm sorry.
Shed.
Oh, shed. These guys are all looking for a break.
Oh, sorry about that.
Let's see what we got.
Tell me we're gonna have to save the
Oh.
shed too. What?
It almost looks like an outhouse.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, it's that white thing?
It's kind of hard to see because it's behind that fence.
Is that light blue? But I mean, it's this, right?
It's the white, yes. If you look at existing north elevation,
all right, motion to approve.
Yeah. There we go. Yeah, it needs a half moon or a crescent moon.
It's probably a little bathing, where you change it to your bathing, so that's so cute.
Yes, but you did make a motion, I believe, Abby.
I did.
you not? All those in favor of Abby's motion to approve as submitted?
And Matt's gonna save it for his house.
That's right.
Is that a move for demo or?
Yes.
Yeah. So all those in favor of Abby's motion?
Aye.
Aye. I think that was unanimous. Now, okay, so we are breaking now.
Bye, Matt.
Yeah, thanks. Sorry, Joseph. Hey, Are any of these coming off, or is this the revised thing? You had said some of them, like,
21 and 22 we're holding.
okay,
I believe 20 is not on island.
20. Okay, yep.
That narrows it down.
And I'm not sure about the rest, 23 through 27. 18 and 19 are.
What did we say about the shed?
The shed had no conditions. It was just
Yeah, it doesn't have to be
move off demo. It was looked like an outhouse.
21 and 22 we're holding, right?
You also make a motion.
That's putting it back.
Well, we can't right yet. Oh, I guess we are a quorum.
I'll make a motion to hold equipment path, 30 equipment path.
Well, can we do a one fell swoop where we hold 20, 21, and 22 for representation? Is that possible? Or do you want them separated?
21, 22, and...
No, 20, 21, and 22.
Sure. 20, 21, and 22.
Hold for representation.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, hold for representation.
All those in favor?
Diane?
Aye.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, 21, 22, what about Val's at,
Yep, she's here.
oh, we can, doesn't sound like that. And PC's here for 78 Union, and
Well, they're not here yet, but they,
and
they
Ethan,
could show.
I thought I saw Ethan earlier.
Ethan is not here, but we discussed these.
Yeah.
I,
Are they
well, I don't want to engage in,
Yeah.
what do we call it?
Swift?
Disposition or
No,
deliberation.
Are we doing
deliberation.
Are we
That's
doing
exactly
flip-flops?
the word I was looking for.
Exactly what we're doing.
I'll just say that we get them.
One, so we're doing Flintlock and we're doing Somerset Road, and we are not doing 3 Mulberry Street,
No.
It's held for representation.
and we're not doing 21, 22, so we're just doing 78 and 23. 78
Yeah.
Union and 23.
As of now, at this time, been watching Patriots Super Bowl.
Oh,
Did we
God, I'd
have
love
it?
to see that game
We
again.
did that.
That was insanely wonderful.
I watched the Puppy
I was
Bowl.
gonna say the Abbey.
Oh, the Puppy Bowl.
And the
Oh,
Kitten
Lisa
Bowl.
watched that.
The Kitty Bowl. Kitty Bowl was at noon.
I was gonna guess that Abby was greatly
Dude, it's over.
disappointed by the Super Bowl as she was watching the HDC videos to loan back in the examination.
Yeah.
The Super Bowl must have been a bore fest.
Why were you disappointed?
Nah, I'm just joking.
Oh,
She
oh.
watched the tapes for the to loan back in.
Yeah, that is really, God, it's
Okay,
painful.
so in the future,
Yeah.
I believe the wording is that you can listen to the transcript, or you can listen to the tapes, or any transcript thereof,
Our transcript there.
which basically means the minutes. So you could just read the minutes if it occurs again.
As long as you make yourself
Well,
familiar with what was discussed.
Yeah.
Right.
And the comments made.
It's also hard if you want to fast forward to stop exactly where.
Oh, yeah, no
That is really
You
hard.
can't really fast forward very well.
No, because my fingers aren't that.
Yeah, I'd like to get a more definite
Word.
definition of the transcripts there.
Want some water? You have to come
Wasn't
out.
in the meeting minutes.
Hey Diane, did you need to take a break?
No,
No?
I'm
We're
good.
good to go? All right, I'll grab some water and then we'll be back for the Joe Topham show.
A little more water. I think we will.
Everybody's gathering this water.
The water is so good here. It's the cold weather makes the water so nice and
Where's the water?
around the corner. Everybody's at the bubbler. Well,
I need direction jugs of water.
Not
A
sure.
couple miles any
Bubbles
direction.
in it?
Yeah, go see.
That's what I like.
John, a couple miles any direction, you'll run right into it. Like that.
No.
He lives on an island.
Yeah, no,
I hate
The springs in,
May?
yeah,
Yes,
it's
I
a great
think they do.
town, and the town's all up in arms because they're basically draining out the aquifer. They're sucking out all the water.
Poland Springs is.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's
The
not
town,
bad.
what's the name of that town?
That's good.
I was gonna eat this.
It's that time of night.
Okay, I think we're back in session here. Joe, Sif? Good. How you doing?
Good, John, how are you? Great. Yeah, try and keep up with you. Can't get as wet as you.
Do we have a board?
Holcomb's, McLaughlin, Camp, Mullins.
Great. Thank you again, Abby, for
Mulling around.
Can you, Joseph, remind us where we are on this?
You asked for the easterly addition to be 1 foot wider, so I did that. Just as you asked.
You, the board, or you, Ray Cole?
Collectively, but yes.
Collectively. Oh, yeah.
Let's lower the rid.
It looks like you, okay, you replaced the, we have a 4-light entry door now.
Yeah. And then
Lower plate height.
change the window to a hopper.
Okay. Wow. You waited all this time for this.
I did.
Wow. That's dedication.
Let's do this.
Okay. Comments, anyone?
It's a hopper. It's a hopper.
Does it say that?
It's a hopper.
Does it say it on there, Joe?
We changed the demolition, definition. We're going to talk.
Okay, what's? I'm going to call them a McLaughlin.
Rather than-
Oh, yeah, I see it does say that.
The Johnny Mac.
Get the consistency.
Yes.
Yeah, Abby, you mullened, so
Yes.
I would just tell you that I'm pretty sure that Joseph basically has revised anything that the board at the time had any issues with.
Addressed all
I
your
don't
concerns.
have any issues with it as it's drawn. I mean, it
Thank you.
looks very nice.
Very simple.
Thank you.
You left the chimney stage, just took the parking off, right?
Correct.
What'd you find underneath?
Haven't gotten that far yet.
Hope it's something good.
I'm kind of on injured reserve for a little while. A couple of months.
Reminds me of a house on Low Beach Road in Wisconsin. Do you know the one? I don't know.
No.
No.
Sorry.
You know, you know that you did that one on the corner, and you take a right and you go down Low Beach. It's about 3 down. It sits back. It's got a big white chimney. It's got a nice big porch like that, and sort of this kind of fenestration.
Good looking house. John, comments? Sir?
Yeah, G windows are fixed.
Is that the one that we were just discussing? Because he said that they were going to go to hoppers.
Yeah.
Right.
On the back?
Yeah. Where are they?
done last visit.
All right. Anybody else?
No, I like it.
You like it. Diane, do you
Yeah.
like it?
Thank you.
Sounds like John likes it. Can I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Okay.
Sorry, I stole it from
All those in favor of Abby's motion to approve as submitted?
Aye.
Aye. That, I believe, was unanimous. Okay. Aye, thanks for waiting. Do we need to review the board on this one?
Paul Coombs, McLaughlin, and Camp, all of them.
Okay. Great. I'm sorry.
Rachel.
Yes, we know your name. So just for the record, and could you just let us know what revisions were made?
Yep, sure. Last time, most of the changes were to the windows. So in the front, they wanted or you guys wanted the windows more vertical. So do you have this? Do you have the same thing?
Yes,
I'm looking at?
that's the previous, right?
No, this is the updated one.
Oh, well, I think we just have that in a larger form.
Oh, yeah, okay, you do. Yep.
See, we have the previous over here, so
Oh,
we can
yep, yep,
compare.
yep.
And, yeah, so we have everything we need.
And so the smaller window by the door was
Yes.
moved over a little bit.
Yep,
And
okay.
then the windows towards the back of the house, there was no windows before. And now there are.
So that's not on the left elevation, because the
Right.
left elevation, also known as the southwest elevation, basically it looks like you narrowed up the windows, but that's a general thing
Yeah.
that you did. And then the rear elevation, again, it looks like you narrowed up essentially the same configuration. And then, yes, if we all look at the right elevation, northeast, if you compare it with what's above, the reduced thing, also called the right elevation, one of the concerns was that there was sort of that large blank space on the right-hand side, and so Rachel has added these two windows, one on the first and one on the second. I think I said that right. Oh, and she's also added one down by the door there.
And she's changed the entryway of the door.
To the back.
Yep,
Yep.
that's correct, Diane. Okay, so, comments, folks?
The only thing that seems strange to me is on the southwest elevation, change the D on the window. Those look like little midget windows. Is it?
It's above a kitchen sink.
Oh, this is like a upside down house?
Yes.
Or,
Yeah.
What could we do about that?
You know what I think that was in reaction to, if you look at the one up above, the previous thing, it was little casement windows.
Yeah, I see.
So I think, there was a comment to change them to double hung or something.
What are those little ones on that,
I think they could be
Southwest?
wider. They are vertical, but.
right?
The back windows, is that what you're talking
They're
about?
just the ones over the
Those two
sink
ones that she's talking about in the kitchen.
in the kitchen.
She's asking if they could go a little wider so they didn't seem so skinny.
I don't know the answer to that. I'm sure.
Oh,
sure.
well, here,
It depends on
if
the
I have floor
cabin.
plans, I'll be able to answer
Yeah.
it. Okay, so widening the windows would basically modestly reduce the amount of upper cabinetry that you have.
Okay.
What other, for you to look at, think, on the northwest elevation. Those windows seem to be floating. This is a 30-foot tall building. Oh, it's 6 inches short of 30 feet.
Yes.
And those windows seem just to be floating around in that structure. I wondered whether they put a third window in on each level or something. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, you could make that 2 over 2 a larger window.
Right, up in the,
Up in the E.
yeah. It just seems that there's an awful lot of space there when you compare it to the other ones that have now got quite a few windows. It's just a thought.
The consequence of what Diane is proposing for you, and this is either, depending on your point of view, it would be adding a window in your bedroom on the first floor and adding a window in your bedroom 3 on the second floor.
Adding a window where?
In the middle. What she was suggesting is having 3 wide instead of 2.
On the back of the house?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Where it is in Somerset, 77 Somerset Road
Yeah.
is almost to Raceway.
No, if you're coming from Raceway, it's past the fork. You know what I'm talking
You
about?
go down Somerset Dirt Road.
Oh, I'm going from Raceway. You don't want to go the other direction.
Okay,
It's bumpy.
I'm at Raceway and Somerset Road.
Yeah,
Stop sign. Do I turn right or left?
you turn right.
Right, and go down there.
And then there's the fork,
Yeah.
and then you go left at the fork,
Mm-hmm. And it's just
and it's a little bit past.
there.
Oh, and it's on the left.
Yeah. The guys who so you probably have a limited view then.
I was just going to say, it's in the back.
The back, yeah,
In
you
the
have no
back.
view of the back.
Yeah. And this little guy right here, that's this, right?
Yeah, yep.
So that's basically covering, see Diane, up in the,
Right
there's
there.
a picture of this house right here.
Yeah.
That is basically in her backyard,
That's
kind of more or less.
6684.
Exactly,
Okay.
6684, which
Right.
is going to cover most of the view of the back of this
Of
house.
the back of the house.
Yeah, definitely.
Is it going to relate to this building, or is it?
It's two
It's separate
separate.
lot.
They,
Oh,
this
okay.
is a covenant lot. They sold a piece in front.
Okay.
To me.
Let's see, have we heard from the boss yet? What, do you have any comments,
Yes,
John?
I do. Just looking over pollution, I always glance inside wide windows to where they are. And I have a question again, is this not upside down house?
Yes.
It is.
You have furnace in the second floor?
Yeah, I don't know why, but yes.
I just want to ask about it.
Okay.
No, I have no comment.
Okay, thanks, John. So, let's see. Diane, are you now satisfied that the rear elevation northwest?
Yeah, you
will-
probably won't see the rear
Right.
elevation
Right.
or the east elevation heading back into town. You probably would have a hard time seeing that too.
So, it sounds like the only thing that we're going to revise is make those kitchen windows a little wider.
I think it would be nice if you would oblige me.
All right. So, why don't we say, and just go with the next stock size wider,
Okay.
which is probably, are these Andersons?
Yes.
So it's probably going to be 4 inches wider
Okay.
each side.
The kitchen windows.
Yeah, exactly.
Which elevation is that?
That is the southwest elevation.
little windows 4 inches
So,
Yes.
right now, the two
Oh, windows over
over the kitchen sink are 18 inches wide, and whatever the next stock size is, either 20 inches or 22 inches wide, so that they each get a little bit wider. Okay? Can I have a motion to that effect?
Motion to approve with the, what?
Kitchen windows.
I got that.
Yeah.
Okay, was that your motion?
Yes.
Okay.
Motion to
All those in,
approve with the change of the kitchen window being one stock size wider.
thank you.
Right.
All those in favor of Abby's motion?
Aye.
Thanks for waiting. John, you were on your break, and what we did, because numbers 20, 21, and 22 are all being held for representation. None of those people are here. Okay? So that brings us down to 78 Union. And I'm looking at an empty room. So what's the deal? Remind me.
24, 25, 26, and 27, should we hold for representation?
Well, 1 second. What do we know about BPC stuff? Anything? They didn't
Yeah,
say
we've
they were
done it
not
a
going to be
hundred
here?
times.
No, I didn't hear anything from them. They've been wondering what their quorum was gonna be,
Oh,
but, I let them know everything, so.
they
What did
here?
you discover?
so it's not our fault?
No answer. Okay, so I actually had a conversation with Ethan about the last two items, 26 and 27. And I don't think that we need to have him present to review this.
Okay,
And
let's
they're-
get it over with.
They're really easy. Yeah.
Okay, here, I'll make a whole, a motion to hold 78 Union Street, lots 1, 2, and 3. And on the agenda, it's 23, 24, and 25 for representation.
Yes,
Or-
please. That's perfect. Thank you. All those in favor of Abby's motion to hold those
Aye.
three?
Aye.
Aye. Great. Now, 26. What this was this is the Brotherhood. In the back there, they have that outdoor seating. And he had gotten approval for an awning. I think you had asked for either dark blue or dark green. And he realized, well, he got approval for dark blue or dark green. I can't remember which it was. And then he came back and he said, well, actually, I've learned that the dark blue and the dark green absorbs the sunlight, so it makes it really hot underneath there. So he said, can I switch it to beige? And we said, well, we're going to need to see a sample of what you're proposing, and here it is, folks. And this is apparently the same awning that was approved across the street at Dune. And he mentioned a couple of other places on Center Street that had this same color. You weren't part of that whole discussion, were you? So, John, that color right there is what he wants to use at the Brotherhood in the back, where they have that outdoor seating. There's a, no, it's a awning.
Behind the fence.
Oh, the awning is behind the fence, yes. So, this was approved across the street at Dune. They have the same awning, and then he mentioned one or two other restaurants down there that have the same thing.
I think Lola's, did Lola do that color?
Lola?
Lola's restaurant down there.
They may have.
Go to the second row down, second one in, wouldn't the grade be more appropriate? Because that
Avena?
building's gonna turn gray. That's the shingles and
This
stuff.
one?
Right.
No, up in the, oh, the beige. I thought he was
This
down
is
that
the one
way.
he wants to do.
That's the one he
If you
wants.
look, I figured
This is not the same as Dune, I'll tell you that. I can, $100, I'll bet anybody. This is not what they have at Dune.
What do they have at Dune, do you think?
Can,
I think they, well,
that second one there.
this,
No, up, right there, yeah. That might be more in keeping after the shingles that are there come down.
Yeah.
I don't know.
This is going to get trashed.
Yeah,
It's gonna
it's
get-
all
The
mildewy.
trees are going to leak, and it's gonna be black.
Okay. Oh, do we have HSAB on this?
We do.
Oh, can you just read it?
Need samples
Yeah.
for making a recommendation.
Oh, okay, so,
Appreciate solid color choices.
all right.
And what does it look like? Does it have a hoopty along the edge, or is it straight, or is it piece stone?
I don't know the answer to
It
that.
looks like it's got upside down bubbling across it, you know?
It does?
Shells. Shells back on
All right, so it's not as simple as I had thought it might be.
I'm with John, I think it should be slightly darker.
That
But-
Avena, this
Yeah,
one?
I don't mind that one.
I don't
Oh,
mind that one either.
John, you're right. It does have that.
Avena.
Can we just tell them that though?
We tell them they,
Well,
We prefer.
no,
No, what do we
they
say?
gotta do, this is the
I
color
think that what we
This might
should
be the
do
color.
Yeah.
is say that, you know, it's still a little light, we prefer this or that, but I don't think that we should approve something without them
Without them.
even being.
Okay, so should we hold this applicant for the awning?
Yeah.
Should we hold that for?
The Avena color, that, the one I mentioned, second up and second in, the Avena.
Second up, second.
More appropriate to a shingle color. AV.
Third
Oh, yeah,
from
yeah,
the
yeah,
bottom.
yeah, which is very sort of, okay, so is there some way that we can convey to Ethan, we're not gonna vote this through,
Right.
but that the board's consensus is that they would prefer something that's a little bit better matched to the weathered shingles, which would be Avena, 6678 is the number. Otherwise, they would need to bring in more documentation about the actual colors on those various buildings that he mentioned.
What do you think about that color? Kind of jumped on
It's light, and, you know, it will get, I think, you
I
know.
think it's a softer color that sort of goes with the shingles and the trees and all this.
You mean the Avena?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is, it's definitely.
I didn't want
And it's not as dark as the other ones, but I think that ultimately we have to hear back from
Yeah.
Ethan to say whether that's acceptable or not. So,
And we're telling them what they should do, they're not telling us what they will have.
well, we're not approving anything though. I mean, theoretically, we could approve that color, but then he might come in and say, oh, actually, we don't like that color, how about this other color?
Yeah.
So I'd
What
rather
about the
give.
arbor though?
Yeah, what's the
What?
arbor?
Okay, the arbor should be really simple. What happened there,
Make a final.
okay, yeah, we need to make a motion. So, somebody want to make a motion to,
Hold for representation?
hold for further information from the applicant? And then, one way or another, they'll find out that our preference is for a slightly different. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye,
Thank you, Madam Chair. Aye.
Aye. I don't know, there was just something missing.
Yeah, no, I'm
Hanging in the
sorry.
air. Did you feel it?
Yeah. I'm getting on. Okay, so the story here is that he had this arbor thing entrance into this, and basically we said, oh, and it was an as-built. Let's see, John, you were sitting on this definitely. Diane, I think you were sitting on this definitely. And Abby, I can't remember whether you were here or Mullen or whatever.
Diane and Abby Mullen.
Diane and Abby. Okay, so but John was there. So the issue is this. He did this sort of like sloped. I don't know whether we even see any pictures of this thing now. No. This package, okay, well, if you look at the front page, you can barely, if you look back into the back corner, you'll see an arbor that sort of has a Japanese kind of curved top to it. Yeah, and so everyone who was sitting on this uniformly objected to that curve as being completely atypical. So we pointed them in the direction of a cooking school across the street, and that is the picture on the last page. You see the arbor there that's flat, right? Don't look at all the other stuff, don't look at all the white fencing and that. You're looking at the arbor, and you see the drawing next to it, and this is, John said, I don't want to approve this until I see a drawing, so this is the drawing. So what he's going to do is basically flatten that whole thing out so it's square.
Is this the arbor?
Yes. So the arbor is already there, so he has to rebuild it to make it look like the way the drawings are.
And where,
Saw right down the line, huh?
He's got to take the whole top off.
and where is the area that we're going to cover in the pavina?
Okay, so if you look at,
In the same area.
yeah, it is. If you look at, go to the front page, Diane.
Patio, yeah.
Okay, see how it says patio? And see how it's sort of gray? It
Oh, I
says
see
line
I
of
see the
audience.
entrance. There's the
Yeah,
entrance.
there's the entrance, and then he's gonna have some patio that's not covered,
Right,
and then he's gonna go into this gray area, well, that's where the awning
with
is.
the red. Right. Do
With
we
the
know
red.
whether this is a metal structure underneath the awning or a wood structure underneath
I'm
the
sure
awning?
it's metal.
And if it's metal, is it going to come down in the wintertime?
Really good question.
I don't know about the awning, but the application, this is for the arbor, right?
Yeah,
This application.
yeah, so we should settle that one up.
That's a good one, too.
Well,
So-
we brought this, when we've allowed big canvas covers and stuff, we have always asked whether it's metal or wood, and whether it's going to be cleared off in the wintertime, so that the framing is still there, but with
But we
nothing
have
on
to
it.
reopen that, you see.
Okay. I'm gonna say, just for the sake of simplicity, we'll defer that discussion for later, because the awning's coming back anyway, in some form or another. So let's concentrate on the arbor, that's what we have in front of us right now. So does anybody have any objections to what is
I
proposed
have
here?
a comment.
Yes,
I
John?
can't remember, I drove by Copco Theater there on North Water Street,
Yes.
and it goes way in, and there's something really constructed in there. I just caught a glimpse of it, I don't know if it's an arbor in there or
I
what.
have no idea.
It's between him and the old
It's on-
real estate property.
Oh,
There's a patio in there, something there. I think you better look first before you.
but just, yes. No, we're almost there. We're almost an hour ahead of schedule. So, comments on this arbor? You okay
I'm
with
fine
it?
with it.
You okay with it, John?
Thumbs up. Are you okay with the flattened out arbor? Can you
Well,
get under it?
As long as you don't come back and say, hey, there's one around the corner that we might have approved, I don't know,
No. He's basically gonna take that curved thing, take all that off, and put the flat one on, just the way we told him to. So these are the drawings that show that.
Okay, everybody gets a chance, if we approve this, we get a chance tomorrow, to drive by 7 North Water and tell me what you think.
Oh, I see.
Something in there,
Okay.
so that we don't make him cut hairs, and the other guy doesn't.
Okay. But,
Yeah,
any,
I just leave it there.
all right. Diane, any issues with the arbor as redesigned?
No, I don't know why he needs an arbor, but if he wants one,
Why did they need one across the street? I don't know. Can I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
All right, there we go, thanks. She's got an arbor, HCC
Joe.
approved. So we have a motion on the table.
I have a gate.
All those in favor of Abby's motion to approve?
Aye.
Unanimous, thank you, everybody.
you
Okay, so,
I'll go to the box, Gray's buying.
I'm buying. Box.
Yeah. Set them up.
That does sound good.
Fuego.
Thank you.
Let's see, I think the only other thing that we need to do is approve some minutes. Are we ready to
Yes,
approve some
ready,
minutes?
let's do that. Let's approve the minutes.
Now, these have all been adjusted and so forth, the language, and they're ready to go?
As far as I know.
Okay,
I wasn't here, does it, maybe somebody else did.
well, that's fine.
Okay.
All I need is a motion.
Motion to approve the minutes for January 17, 24. That's it.
Okay, we have a motion on the table to approve the minutes from January 17th and January 24th. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And John, do you abstain on those?
Yes.
You abstain. So John abstained on that motion.
On principle. On principle. he abstains.
Oh,
Are you sure?
I'm sure.
Terry knows, she's the minute taker.
You're thinking consent. These are the minutes.
Consent, all right, okay. No, I'll vote for it.
Oh, okay, so strike that. We have four in favor.
It's gone bad.
Well, hey, this is great. We're 45 minutes ahead of where we normally are.
Not approved draft minutes.
Yeah.
Put your draft minutes.
What's your wife tell you?
That's just me.
You know what? She's home making spaghetti and meatballs.
Oh, come
What time?
on.
Not ready yet.
I'll put the
Well,
Chianti.
I'll say, honey, I invited a few of my friends over. Hope you
Yeah.
don't mind. Okay.
Spaghetti meatballs.
What's that
Me
other
too.
motion that we do all the time?
Rolling up. Adjourn.
Can I have a motion?
To adjourn the meeting.
All those in favor of Abby's motion to adjourn?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thanks a lot, everybody.
No, that's a stray.